And recess for a short period of time, the County Commission meeting, and I will invite the other members of the Library Board forward, and we will begin, and we'll call that to order once those members take their seats.
All right, no matter. Come right here. Come on up, Ken.
Behind the chair, right beside the chair. Nice. Oh, how's everybody doing today?
Very good.
I'm doing wonderful.
You gonna make this nice and easy, painless?
I hope so.
Okay, so I see the gang's
If the chair
here.
allows me to speak.
We'll call to order this meeting of the Library Board, and I'll ask for a roll call, please, from the clerk for this gathering.
This is a special Library District Governing Board meeting held on the 26th day of April 2022. In attendance are Crystal River City Councilman Ken Brown, Inverness City Councilwoman Jackie Heffer, Chairman Ronald D. Kitchen Jr., First Vice Chair Ruthie Shabaugh, Second Vice Chair Holly Davis, Commissioner Scott Carnahan and Jeff Kennard, County Administrator Randy Oliver, and County Attorney Denise A. Diamond Lynn.
Thank you very much. Let's see, let's go ahead and deal with the consent agenda first. It consists of the minutes from the last two meetings, one of March 8th and one of March 22nd. So we'd be looking for a motion to adopt and approve those minutes.
So move.
Second.
So Commissioner Carnahan makes a motion, second by Commissioner Schleybaum. Is there any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay, and that passes unanimously. Okay, members, welcome. Good to see you folks again from the two neighboring cities. And for the members of the public, I just want to point out a couple things. If you're following on the agenda, next up is open to the public. I'll leave it to your discretion. But my intention is try to be fair, hear what everybody has to say, but to move the meeting along today. So anytime that there's a motion made by, and a second made by members of the board, we'll take open to the public at that point. So I would leave it up to you if you wish to speak at that time, or if you want to speak under open to the public about anything that has to do with the library board. Although I imagine most of the input today will be about the nominations, the nominees, and that type. So with that said, remember what I mentioned about earlier, and so at this time, is there anyone who wishes to speak to the library board?
Chair, after you have the public input, I'd like to be recognized.
Sure.
Good afternoon. My name is Margaret Martis. I'm from Inverness, Florida. I pulled some strings to be here today, but it's very important. I am the mother of the son who was directly affected by the LGBT displays, maybe not in the library, but in the teachings and the culture that this world has been coming to. My son was the little boy who, first year in middle school, went up to a little boy that was wearing a dress and said, "What are you doing? You're a boy. You're not supposed to wear a dress." A couple days later, he got beat up severely. I had to pick him up from school, take him to the hospital, and he had a concussion. So, with that being said, please replace the current members of the library board with those who will respect what the parents and the community are asking. And my voice is a little bit trembling because my son is still affected by what happened, and it needs to change. And may God bless you all with your votes. He will judge you in the end. Thank you.
Thank you. Could we have anyone else wish to address the board at this time?
Hi, my name is Karen Slaska. I'm a 22-year resident of Hernando County and a very strong library user. I say I visit the library at least twice a week, if not more. for recreational reading. I also do volunteer work with children in the community, and I use books from the library to go out to daycare centers and do story times and work on literacy programs. I've been following this issue. I read all the applications that came in from all these people in the community, and it's great to see all these people so excited about libraries. Libraries are a wonderful asset to the community, and we like to keep them strong. I've always been very proud of Citrus County Libraries for their service. But saying that, there are 5 people who were basically appointed already and then disappointed because of structural problems with the way this was advertised, the way it was set up. So I would just say they are very qualified to do what the library board does. We have some members there who have sat there for a long time, so they have some knowledge of how the board works and what the history of the board is. We have some members who are brand new, who really haven't been able to do anything because all they've done is sit without being able to really move. So I would say, at this point, what I would ask you to consider is appointing or reappointing the 5 people that you previously appointed back in January, or whenever that meeting was held, and let them get on doing their job. That's it. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak at this time?
Good afternoon. My name is Nathan Sharp. I live in Crystal River, and I was born and raised here. Today, we are at perhaps a temporary culmination of the events that have been the focus of so much attention since last June. As I settle comfortably in a middle age, I'm struck by the time that this has all taken. Not simply the time of the commission and other board members, but the members of the public, both local citizens and organized radicals from out of town, have taken on this issue. Also, the sheer number of hours of labor that county staff have spent on this issue. From my days as a manager to holding director-level positions, the efficient use of payroll dollars to advance businesses or organizations' mission has always been an important principle. Imagine what could have been accomplished in this time period by the library services team and other county departments had the BOCC and this board acted decisively and with finality last year. This board will hear yet again from members of both sides on the issue of pride displays at the library with vigor and passion and a clamor to be the loudest and most vocal about their feelings. That this debate has stretched on this long and has grown in the only focus lately, I leave fully at the feet of the chair where we are today. Representational democracy is by its nature a messy but beautiful thing, but it is the solemn duty of the chair to move issues along at a rate that allows the many sides of an argument to be heard while ensuring the process is conducted in a way that doesn't fan the fires of derision. There is a real responsibility here today for the chair to move this process along to a conclusion that examines the qualifications of applicants in a meaningful way. On a last note, a good board of directors team is one where ideas are flowing fully and where each idea is met with an initial welcome, an intellectual challenge, and expression of gratitude. Have a great day.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak at this time?
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Nancy Tomaselli. I live in Hernando, and I'm here because I'm with the League of Women Voters and Friends of the Library. Florida has a Parental Bill of Rights that is the law. It says that all decisions regarding a child's education, health, and general well-being are made by their parents under Florida law, and that the right to make those decisions belongs solely to that child's parents or legal guardians, not any state, agency, or entity. Those wanting to censure books, displays, and freedom of thought are operating under an incorrect premise, and that is an inaccurate assumption that parents don't know or care what their children are reading. Clearly, the governor and the legislature disagree. What gives those who want to censure books and freedom of thought the false idea that they must sweep into homes to save children from parents who don't know or care? Why do those who want to censure books and freedom of thought think that their moral compass is any better than that of the parents who are raising their children? Parents have the God-given right and the government-given right to raise their children according to their beliefs. Who are those who want to censure books and freedom of thought to think that they have the moral authority to override parents and tell them what their children must and must not read? Why should any free parents in a free country be forced to live by the narrow standards of those who want to censor freedom of thought? The government has promoted education from its beginnings. The library is financed by the government because of the high respect it places on the education of its citizens and their children. It is recognized by all that children are the future of our country. Their education must be wide enough to qualify them to meet all of life's problems and vast enough to enable them to make their own personal decisions as to how to govern their lives. Those who want to censure books and displays, free-thinking, and lifestyles are of great concern. History teaches us the horror of zealots who passed laws to force others to follow their narrow beliefs, often involving book censorship, book burnings, and worse. It is vitally important that the commissioners exercise wisdom in their selection of those who will guide the future of the libraries and quality of life for citizens of Citrus County. It is more than essential that parents be given the freedom to make their own decisions for their children with regards to reading material, displays, and lifestyles, and that these decisions not be taken away from them. It is the law guaranteed by the Florida Parents' Bill of Rights. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak at this time?
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Paula Johnson, and I am one of the candidates for one of the open positions for the Library Advisory Board. And this time, I would like to thank all of those that are on the Library Board for their participation and for all the good deeds that they do for our county, as well as those whose tenure has expired. As with any board, diversity and mutual respect is desirous of each member to foster a cohesive ensemble for discussion and consensus. I have had over 22 years in a corporate 500 company, and in addition to that, I volunteered my whole life. I've been a resident of Citrus County for 7 years, and during that duration, I've been very involved in my church ministry, as well as the Citrus Pregnancy Center, as well as Operation Christmas Child with Samaritan's Purse. I believe my teaching and administrative background, my years of volunteer experience, and my proven ability to work with people to achieve desirous outcomes will make me an ideal fit for the Library Advisory Board, as it works to better meet the needs of the public who use our libraries. Our library should be a neutral space so that anyone who enters should feel comfortable navigating freely without being intimidated by any political or biased agenda. Our library staff does a wonderful job in assisting all the patrons and should be a welcoming place that promotes family and community activities. I encourage you to consider appointing new people with fresh ideas and diverse perspectives. Thank you again for my time and for my introduction.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak at this time before we move on with the business of appointments? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and I would like to thank you for
Can you
the
give us your name,
opportunity
please?
to speak. My name is Marjorie Stewart, and I'm a licensed mental health counselor. I am not here to talk about religion or politics, but I am here to talk about how important whatever the decision is by the board affects the children. As a clinical therapist, I think this should not be a political battleground. There should not be agendas. There should be open-mindedness, because what we decide will affect the children, especially those that go into the library, and it's used as a babysitting ground for parents that are busy. The real issue here is about rights, as we have discussed. And basically, it comes down to the rights of the parent or the rights of the advisory board. The advisory board is very powerful. It can dictate what books should be in the library and what books should be eliminated. So there is a lot of power. And what I have noticed, I've only moved to Inverness in the past year. What came to my mind was all 5 advisory board members have the agenda to promote the LBGT issue. Now, I don't want to say anything about that issue, but I do want to talk about the children, the adolescent children, what happens to them during the developmental stages. And I'm going to make this very short. So let's look at exactly what happens. We all have gone through it. During the early adolescence, girls thought boys were a little weird, and boys thought girls, had cooties. That's just the way it is. Developmentally, we have to go through a process in order to grow and become mentally and emotionally healthy. As a doctor goes and looks and says, oh, let me measure a person's weight and height, he could tell whether they're physically healthy. As a clinical therapist, I have to look at, have they gone through these developmental stages? The first stage is physically. Puberty hits them. There's rapid physical and development changes. Hormones come, girls get periods, their breasts begin to grow. Boys have testosterone, their voice lowers, and then all of a sudden they have erections. Excuse me, but this is what's basically happened. The developmental growth there, and the goal is to learn to accept their physical body. The next stage is mentally. They get confused and are out of control emotionally. Developmentally, they want to learn, and we want to teach them how to manage their body, their mind, and their emotions. And thirdly, psychological. Emotionally, they are very unstable during this time. There's a psychiatric development and disorders and
I believe your time has expired, ma'am.
bruising. Please consider the children.
Thank you. Is anyone else that'd like to speak this time?
My name is Pastor Jack Martin. I'm here because I've been through issues like this in other counties. The LGBTQ community literature should not be something that's being put into our school systems. It's not, honestly, if that is what a family believes, that should be taught at home. My experiences have been over in Pasco County. They were going to fire a gym teacher because he wouldn't watch a girl shower with boys. You can't ask an individual to change their biblical or their moral beliefs. The books that, when one woman talked about banning, To Kill a Mockingbird was a great book. It taught me how to not be a racist, but it was banned. But books that are going to teach an ideology like that, you really need to consider carefully, because what you're doing is you're subjecting everybody to a view that many of their families don't agree with, and quite honestly, that I believe to be immoral. And I think the parents should have the final say in that whole issue. I know you guys have a difficult job ahead, and I ask you just to consider all of the parents in it. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak at this time?
Hi, my name is Ellie Quinn. I live in Crystal River. And I'm just going to touch very briefly on what the last two speakers mentioned, the children's rights. And I find it interesting that everybody speaks about that and about the sex or the politics or the religion and the children, but nobody has talked about communication and teaching these children and these families that these issues belong to them. These are their issues, and they need to be taught how to communicate with them. And we all need to be taught how to communicate with each other on these issues. We don't need to be taught about the issues. I don't want my child taught about the issue. But if you want to talk to them about how to communicate, how to be polite, how to be kind, that's what should be taught. But not sex. Anything that has to do with identifying your sexuality comes later. We have to teach them how to cope. We have to teach them how to accept themselves and how to accept others. But we don't have to teach them that something is wrong or has to be looked at or put under a microscope. Sexuality and choices remain with the family. Communication, kindness, tolerance needs to be taught.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Patricia Crowe. I live in Inverness. My experience has been, I was a director of a small town library. I've worked in a large county library. I understand the difference. However, I was one of the first people to introduce the internet as a director of the library, and I made sure that the internet had a block because we did not want the children getting into pornography. I obviously, as a librarian, I am not against people having different books, or obviously I care about everyone having their opinion. I am not for book banning. As an author and a librarian, however, I do feel that pushing one's agenda on children is wrong. I feel that it's actually should be illegal. I feel that people need to fight now. Obviously, since I've been a librarian, things have gotten worse, and I feel that now is the time to fight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board at this time?
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Bruce Bryn. With regard to the Library Advisory Board, I would like to see the replacement of the current Library Advisory Board, with the exception of possibly Edith Rambo, and replace them with the members, with the citizens who will respect community values, parental rights, and who won't push LGBT propaganda on the kids. So let's let the children be children, and let's let the parents do the parenting. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak on the, yes?
Good afternoon. My name is Tim Tripp. I live in Citrus County in Homosassa. And I really feel sorry for you all, because this should have been dealt with at the last meeting. And I know that it just seems to be carrying on. I'm going to be really short. I have 3 points. The first one is that I don't even know if you realize it, but you're dealing with a ticking time bomb here that's never going to go away until there's some decisions and some change that's made. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the American Library Association just recently elected its 2023 president that will begin in 2022 taking over that role, and she's a Marxist lesbian person. She's openly talking about the changes she wants to make in the library systems in the United States. It's pretty scary when somebody comes to the table as a leader and starts predicting what the agenda is going to be and what the hopeful outcome is going to be. It has no place in the American Library Association that, was started way back when by Ben Franklin. His common need was to create a place for knowledge, to create a place that's safe to learn, and they're willing to trash all of that. The third thing is at the last meeting that I was at with the library board, at the end of the meeting, they talked about everybody had a chance to speak up, and that the majority of the people there were against what was going on in the Citrus County libraries. Well, one of the board members spoke to that, saying that just because there's a majority doesn't mean that it's going to happen. Well, democracy is about the role of what the people play in making decisions in government. And it was pretty much blown off in the sense that that wasn't going to happen with the Citrus County Library, at least the board. So, they say that the only person that likes change is babies. And it's kind of one of those comical things, but you have before you people that you ask to stand up and to get involved, that are going to get involved, but only if you make the decisions to allow that to happen. And I applaud the people that are going to stand up and get involved, and I think that you have this massive responsibility to make a change so that the ticking time bomb that you're going to deal with forever, unless you make that change, is going to come about. So have the courage to make those tough decisions and stand up for what's right. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else at this time? Again, keep in mind when we get to the nominations, everyone will have an opportunity for whatever motions are made at that time to speak to them. Yes.
I'll make this very short. I'm in agreement with what he was saying. My name is Kathleen Tybus from Beverly Hills.
I'm here today to request that the 5 incumbent LAB members who are seeking reappointment be replaced with new members who will be respectful of our community values and not use the taxpayer-funded libraries to promote LGBT propaganda. We need LAB members who understand family values and will encourage all that is true, right, and good morals to uphold parental rights for the well-being of our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lori Pettengill, and I'm from Homosassa, and I'm running to be on the Library Advisory Board. I'm running because I think we need a conservative voice on the board. I am a conservative voice. I was a state representative in New Hampshire. I have a proven record of being conservative. This is a conservative community. We believe in strong families, strong businesses, and I really think that we need that on this board. I do want to also talk about the American Library Association, the Florida Library Association. I mean, when you read over about, you know, in these websites about these associations, it's not Citrus County. And so we need to make a library, we need a library board that reflects Citrus County, which right now has about 63,000 registered Republicans and 22,000 registered Democrats. So we are a conservative area, and we need a conservative voice, and I would appreciate if you would consider me as your Library Advisory Board member.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Chairman, Commissioners, Board members, my name is Ronald Berg. I'm from Hernando, and I have a simple subject here to talk about, and that is book banning is wrong. There are many valid reasons why books should not be banned. One of the main reasons is that preventing people from learning about some of the harsh realities of life robs them of the knowledge they need in order to grow and compete in the world. Books are the main sources that teach us about history, emotions, and new ways of thinking. And then there's the issue of freedom, like freedom of expression. Restricting children from reading popular books, or unpopular books, or controversial books, or any books that make them think differently about something, we are restricting their minds and their freedoms of expression and speech. Banning books takes the right and freedom to choose what is read away from both the parents and the students. The First Amendment of our Constitution says that all people have the freedom of speech and the freedom of press. Banning books in our libraries would be the first step towards authoritarianism, which is enforcement and the advocacy of strict obedience to authority at the expense of personal freedoms. This is not what America is all about, and this is not what our community should become. Fighting for our rights and freedoms takes courage in the face of adversity. Our commissioners must appoint board members who will resist book banning and preserve our rights and freedoms. Thank you.
Thank you. And for anybody else coming up, just to remind everybody, nobody's banning any books. This is not about banning books. So if we can, let's try to stay on the subject that's in front of us here today. So, yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Gil Phelan. I'm from Lecanto. I mean, that last thing I just heard just boggles my mind, too. You know, we're not here. I've heard the same thing for the last months and months and months. We're up here begging you people, please listen to us. This is not about the library board. This is not about who we're putting on the board. This is about our children, to stop the grooming and the pedophilia and the warping of the children's minds. So you're going to say, let's wait till next year. We'll wait next year. We'll put more people on the board. It has nothing to do with who's on the board. We, the people, are telling you, and especially the three of you who voted against what we want, what we want. This is a republic. You're supposed to do what we want you to do, and you're refusing to do it. Why?
It's part of the job. Just a sec. It's part of the job. Unless he says something personal about you, he's allowed to express his opinion. If you feel threatened, then you're welcome to leave. But this is what we deal with. It's our job to listen to the public. Some we may agree with, some we don't. It's our job to listen. Please continue.
I'll grab some of my time at the end, too. You know,
Please.
this is
control
freedom of
yourself.
speech. You know, we're ready. I hear about, hey, please be nice, please be nice. We're ready with the pitchforks and the torches to chase everybody out of town.
Okay, now
That's
you-
where we're at.
Okay, let's reel.
That's a reference to Frankenstein, okay? It's a
let's reel it
reference to a
back in.
movie.
Okay.
It's just a fictional movie.
Right.
Okay? I'm telling you, we're sick and tired of being ignored. Okay? That's the point. It's not who's on the board, who's conservative. We told you what we want. It's not up to you intellects to decide what you want. You need to listen to us. And I don't know why the law is stating third parties can't teach certain things. Here's the lawyer here. Why don't we get an answer about this new law? It doesn't matter about the board, does it? Because if there's a law telling us third parties can't teach that crap, why is it continuing? Today you should say, you know what? We have a new law last week. We got to obey it. We'll still play around with the board, but the law is the law, whether you like it or not. The people of Florida and the people of the United States have spoken, because California is the bellwether, right? Next thing you know, we're going to be letting our babies be killed a month after birth. That's where we're headed, okay? Because you're doing the same thing California did. Oh, look at this guy here who knows it all.
If you would just okay.
Just do the will of the people, please, okay?
Thank you.
Take your intellect, put it on the shelf, and do your jobs.
Thank you. Is there another speaker that would like to speak about what we're going to deal with today?
Good afternoon. My name is Rosemary Nillis. I live in Inverness, and I'm also a board member of the League of Women Voters of Citrus County. Today, I want to speak about our support for the Citrus County Public Library System, with the key word being public. I'm going to refer you to the Citrus County Library System's own website. This is their mission. I'm going to read it to you. Our mission reflects the commitment we are to making the citizens we serve. We have to make the citizens we serve. The Citrus County Library System will promote the pursuit of knowledge and deliver quality education to the community, embracing the power of information, imagination, and ideas. Now I'm going to read you the vision right from their website of the Citrus County Library System. Our vision articulates what success will look like in the future. The Citrus County Library System is recognized as the go-to resource for educational support, self-directed learning, and literacy. The Citrus County Library System provides invaluable tools for discovery, self-empowerment, and life enrichment. It's a welcoming community gathering place for families, cultural activities, and civic life. Libraries are not political. Libraries are not religious institutions. They exist to serve the community in its entirety. The Citrus County Library System is a true community treasure. We ask that you keep the library system's mission and vision in mind in selecting or retaining members of its advisory board. Thank you for taking my comments.
Thank you for being here. Can we have the next speaker, please?
Good afternoon. I'm Michael Coates from Inverness, and I worked at the library system for 15 years, just recently retiring. I could write a book about all the criticisms we at the front desk have endured over our pride display from the group of people who are trying to sexualize this display. These people don't take into thought all the thousands of LGBTQ people who commit suicide because they have parents like the ones challenging our displays. Libraries are a safe place for all. You shouldn't be afraid to come in and be chastised for anything you believe. We are in the library to educate. I will always celebrate my lesbian, gay, bisexual, queer, or questioning family and friends with as much pride as I celebrate my straight. Take heed, library displays will not make a person change their sexual identity or their race. What it may do is make them realize that they are not bad sexual predators, unlovable deviants, ugly, evil, or undeserving of life. You know what does make them feel that way? Closed-minded, judgmental people who pose as God-loving people. I'm pretty sure that God said, love one another as I have loved you. Thank you for the support from our friends of the library and who have stood up for what is right. Also, our Library Advisory Board for everything they do for our libraries. I proudly put up 2 of those pride displays, and I'm hoping that they help the LGBTQ community realize that they are accepted and welcomed in our libraries just as they are. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for being here. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak at this time?
I'm Drew LoBianco from Inverness, and just wanted to ask if you guys can not reappoint the people who are for the LGB. I believe it's wrong. I believe that God created male and female only, and I think it's a shame that we're, children that are growing up have enough to deal with and decide, and that should be for later on after they're developed to make their own decision. And we should love people. I mean, if people are gay and lesbian, we should love them like Jesus loved us, but not have the displays in the library, not put this in front of children. That's what I ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Could be the next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Robert Ramirez, and I live in Hernando. And I've heard a lot of things today. I know seems like there's 2 issues, but I've heard, agenda, LGBTQ, bigotry, get people's, pushing their stuff, all kinds of things. I heard God, and my Lord is Jesus, but I'm also here because what I'm really upset about, I agree with a lot of people. I'd like new board members. It'd be, get all-inclusive, everybody's feelings and ideas. But what upset me, and this is my first time in this room here, and when I went to the Library Advisory Board, it was my first time there also. And I was upset enough to go and speak, which I'm uncomfortable doing. But I was upset enough, I went up there, along with a lot of other people that agreed with me, and we spoke. There was a motion, and they had a motion, and nobody seemed to comment. There's a few comments. Everybody said no comment, and what happened, I thought, my opinion, everybody's got opinions, but my words fell on deaf ears. I was not represented. I know, those people in the advisory board were not elected by me, or I didn't vote for them, but I was not represented. And I just hope today that my words don't fall on deaf ears again. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, could you fill out a green card for us, please? Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Eddie Paget of Citrus Springs, and I'm currently the pastor of Joy and Praise Fellowship there in Beverly Hills. I've spoken before this chamber before, and when I was told a while back that we were still having these hearings over the same subject, I just couldn't believe it, The world has drastically changed before us, and I realized that we're not the same place we were some 20, 30 years ago even. And as a pastor of a church, I govern a large body of believers, and they come from all different walks of life, liberal and conservative alike. And it's not an easy job to allow all the voices to be heard and to judge fairly. But I can say that we have a democracy in our church, a democratic process that we elect people to govern, help me govern the church based on the views of the people of the church, the majority views. This county wants our library board to be representing the people, their values, their views. Not just a few from outside that came into here, but their values. Now, before we say, well, he's a religious person, he's obviously going to be against, lesbians and gays because of his convictions. My son is gay. And I can tell you that my son was not gay until he got exposed by a bunch of gay friends at Lecanto High School that kept pushing things in front of his face over and over. And he became curious. And that curiosity began to form something in his heart that turned him into that type of lifestyle. I'm here to tell you, and I'm asking you to really consider this, because the majority of the people of this county, not Republicans, the people's values are not for this to be put before our children. Now, we have shelves in the library for history and different type of subject. Put it back on the shelf somewhere in the back. It does not need to be right on the open for our kids to see it as they walk in that library. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and just consider what I'm sharing to you.
Thank you for being here today. Next speaker, please.
Thank you. I'm Kathy Bryn. You probably know me. I live in Sugar Mill Woods. I'm a Christian, and I'm a patriot, and we are losing our country. And Citrus County is losing the values that we used to have. And I'm also a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and I have great-grandchildren. And I want to tell you, as all of you know, when a baby is born, you know if it's a male or a female. And I don't think we need a biologist to teach us what our child is. And I don't think we need teachers teaching them, nor books set out on displays encouraging that type of family lifestyle. I love everyone and I accept everyone, but I agree with the previous speaker. Those books can be put in the library, on the shelf, and people who really want to read those books can go read them. I'm not for banning books, I'm an author. But I tell you, as community leaders, I want each of you to really think through your vote on this. I believe that we are a nation under God, built on the Judeo-Christian values. I believe in the Constitution, and I am very concerned about where our country is going. We are so far left, we are going to be communist in a few years. And this is the first time, in the first place, that I feel free to stand up and say I can maybe make a difference. We have to start at home. And each of you, when you make your vote today, I ask you to replace all 5 members. I think we need new thought, new representation. I also believe that the vote you make today is very important. Voters are going to hold you accountable, and so will God. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Again, you're welcome to speak. You don't have to speak now because everyone will have another opportunity, so just reminding everybody. So.
Good afternoon. This is my name is Ron Castreba. I live here in Inverness, and I go to Fort Cooper Baptist Church, and I know there's people that voted for Biden there, but they would never vote for this kind of display in our library. There's a person in our church that ever said they would, and it's just getting crazy out there. Now we got somebody in the Supreme Court that can't tell what a woman is. Anybody a woman here can't tell what a woman is, and she's going to be controlling our country. We got to get this counties back in order here to continue more and more counties. We've got to start at the bottom here. And if you guys in the library board are so disliked, how can you still serve there? You know, you're not doing your job. I don't know who this guy is, but it sounds like he's a...
Please direct your comments to the chair. Thank you.
I think he's with the board there. But if you're not liked, get out of there. If I was running something that people hated me because of my opinions, I'd leave, not stand there and take it.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Dean Bales. I live in Homosassa Springs, and these are tough times with inflation ticking up ever more every time they measure it. And the space that is taken up by this LGBT display is space that could be dedicated to something that is useful to all people, such as books about how to stretch your money. There's a series of books called the Tightwad Gazette from 20-something years ago. I'm sure there's a lot more that's appeared since then. And if homosexuals claim themselves to be human rights activists, they should support me and step aside with their propaganda displays and allow the library to be used for things that actually do help people. You'll notice that there's a massive uptick in the whole of the syndicate, I politely call them, who are pro-LGBTQ+, and they are trying to sexualize children, or to portray children as sexualized. They're doing both. Why are they doing this? They're doing this to do an end run around the child sex crimes laws. It's been done before. Michael Foucault, an intellectual from France, was a homosexual, and he petitioned the government to say that it is cruel to prevent children from expressing themselves sexually because the child sex crimes laws hinge upon the key words, children are not considered competent to make sexual decisions. So now they're chiseling away at that linchpin of the law. You saw that, who was that guy? Pete Buttigieg ran for president. He had a 6-year-old boy come up on stage and say, I'm gay, help me declare this to the world. As the cultish chant broke out in the audience, love is love, love is love, love is love. This is what they're doing. They're trying to say that, hey, children are sexual, so these laws are cruel. They even use the word cruel to say that of the recent law, parental rights law is cruel. Remember that? You heard plenty of it. So this has no place in the library. There's no place for it. Any place where children could see it, even adults. How did you like the Great Recession? Did you know that Barney Frank, the first homosexual senator, arranged that? He basically disabled the Senate Banking Committee laws of banks and enabled that mess. As the mess was undergoing, there was a homosexual organization, a group, a mortgage company, Taylor, Bean and Whitaker. They sold $1.5 billion worth of fraudulent loans to the Colonial Bank, and they failed, and that was the largest bank failure in American history. You go down the list of the worst things, or the first of something nefarious to occur, and you find homosexuals in the forefront of it. Do we want to put a display in the library? Really, come on now. Look at Black Lives Matter, 3 lesbians, burning cities.
Your time
how
has
many
expired.
billions of damage?
Sir, your time has expired.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
By the way, the beep is on, it's
Okay, well,
malfunctioning.
I'm just watching the light. So, what'd you say?
I just asked
Yep.
It's
I'm Cheryl
malfunctioning.
Cushman. I'm from Citrus Springs.
It's not me,
And
seriously.
I'm here again to express my desire that we replace the 5 openings on the board with new people. I went to the board meeting, and I did not feel like I was represented there. And I think that's the way a lot of us feel. We're not represented, and we need that. We need to have that representation. So I just decided to come and tell you again.
Thank you very much. We're glad you did. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Patty Kendrick from Floral City. I just kind of want to say the same thing. I feel like the board, it kind of looks like it maybe it's all of the same opinion now, so I think diversity would be good. So I would want to replace the current members on the board with people who maybe have more conservative values. And that's about it. I just really feel like, I don't know why this has gone on and on, because what I don't see from the other side, all the LBG, whatever people, is the differentiation between adults and children. I don't care. Adults can deal with any subject they want, sex, whatever, but I don't understand why they feel like we need to talk to children about sexual things. It's beyond me. I wouldn't want anybody talking to my grandchildren about what gender they were, or who they want to kiss, or who they want to be. My brother wanted to be a bird when he was 6 years old. I'm glad nobody.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, please.
I'm glad nobody convinced him that that was going to be okay. But we could do a display on love. I don't have a problem with that. Let's do a display on love, universal love. Just leave the sex part out. Just leave that, and we can promote, loving everybody for that. And I would be happy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good day. I'm Margaret Hampton, and I have to agree that there should be a replacement. The incumbents each one has long surpassed any reasonable term limits, and they've shown themselves not to be representative of the community at large. I have therefore put forth my application. It's before you, and the reasons are that I believe I can bring many competencies that are lacking in that board from my diverse professional experience. I have a lot of understanding of education and educational interest, not only from having been an extremely involved parent, but also being one of only 3 professionals to be asked to work intensively with the director of one of Atlanta's top 3 private schools, K through 12, in their planning. I'm very versed in the issues. With regard to the library, there's such an incredible need that it can fill that's part of its basic mission in literacy and in helping the children learn basic research skills, inciting their interest in reading, in good literature, in exploring different topics that are interest to them, and also in serving the needs of the seniors in this community. They have very diverse interests and should be involved. And in learning, as the others have said, core values of love and acceptance, moral values that you can learn from fabulous biographies and other ways. The displays can be used to teach life skills and to encourage people to explore them, whether it's from money management or first aid or whatever. And there are many exciting programs that can be done, as well as community service. I've been very active in community service over the years, and everything as diverse as from the advisory board of the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra to being only the 2nd woman on the national board of the Leukemia Society of America. I know the needs of people. We've got hurting people, and we have deplorable literacy in this county. Kids graduating from high school who can't really read or write. They cannot speak properly. They don't know punctuation. They don't know spelling. And they're going out in the world unprepared to be successful. The library's programs can boost them and give them what they need.
Your time has expired.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. And by the way, if you're speaking, you'll notice a red light will come on, and the time should be displayed in front of you, so you know how much time you have left. Is there anyone else to speak?
Hi, my name is Rena Murray. I am a lifetime resident of Citrus County, and I would definitely encourage you to add Ms. Hampton to your board because she will be a very neutral person. And I noticed, not only in the library, but everywhere in this county, I graduated from Crystal River High School. It was profoundly ridiculous. A couple of the students in the class didn't know how to spell Mrs. That's really not funny. We've got to start getting back to the basics on education. Most of them could not conjugate a simple sentence, could the worm have eaten the whole apple, and told me all 3 of the verbs in it. If that's not education, to be able to construct a sentence, and yet LBGT displays are, there's a problem here. All politics belong outside of the library, not in it. You don't have room in the library to put politics, because then you have to include everybody else's views. That's not what the library is supposed to be about. We are supposed to have all sorts of education. You insist on sex education? All right. Bring in education on sex trafficking, how those predators take children, how it's happening all over this county, how I stopped it one time when I caught a woman, a young woman, trying to take a child out of a store. and the mother was separated by a teenage girl. That's who they're using. But thank God I was able to stop that. That's what's happening, is people are getting so distracted, insisting on one group's rights. I don't hear that group insisting, well, make sure there's a straight pride too. This is all about one group's opinion, and that's where the problem is. I don't hear them saying that they tolerate us. Everyone needs to just accept, okay, if that's your lifestyle, that's fine, but your lifestyle is not what people should be educated on. How to live, how to structure. Do you know how many children are suffering in this county and don't have enough? Let's put drives together. Let's use the library for that. My Aunt Carol was on a board for years. She's dead now, but she spent all those years focused on children and real education and helping them when they couldn't focus, when they couldn't read. But this has nothing to do with education, and we've gotten too far from it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Could we have the next speaker, please? And if you didn't fill out a green card, could you fill it out for us, please? Ma'am? Doug, can you get her a green card? Oh, you got it. Okay.
My name is Neil Brennan, and I am currently the Vice Chairman of the Citrus County Library Advisory Board. As you set out today to determine who is to fill the 5 open positions on this board, I would respectfully ask that you publicly confirm that this advisory board, including these 5 members, was in no way responsible for the selection of the gay pride display. It had absolutely no input whatsoever to its content, location, or design. This is an administrative process, and the advisory board has never been included in any form or fashion in the display process or policies determining the decisions. This can easily be confirmed by documented agendas and minutes of the advisory board meetings. It simply never happened. Yet the accusations continued. No clarification was ever established. No effort was ever made to correct this misinformation. For 9 months, these 9 members have been labeled as pedophiles. Our meeting was described as a form of tyranny. Our patriotic integrity has been challenged, and our religious principles have been questioned, all over a process that we had nothing to do with and a display that we had no part in. The most recent hate mail that I personally got said that I was disgusting, accused me of indoctrinating children into gay, transgender, homosexual perversion agenda, and ended with, "May God have mercy on your soul." Replacing the 5 members whose positions are up for reappointment would do nothing to wipe the slate clean or to balance the agenda. It would instead deprive this community of the continued service by loyal citizens who have proven to only have the best interest of our library at heart. These are good people. They deserve your vote. They deserve your support. But more importantly, they deserve your apology.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Please hold the applause, ladies and gentlemen. We talked about that, please. Next speaker, please.
My name is Scott Mercurio, and I'm not going to go into my pedigree of who I am, other than the fact I am a Christian from Citrus County, and I am a parent. Being a Christian, Jesus teaches us to love one another as he loves us, to love the sinner, not the sin. Do I believe that LGBT propaganda is appropriate for the library? Absolutely not. It's not the place, not the forum, not the time, not anything appropriate. As a parent, I believe that our children should be children. They should worry about kids' things. Which Matchbox car am I going to play with? Which toy am I going to play with? Whose friend am I going to knock on their door? And I believe that parents should do the parenting, not the government. There's far too much government overreach in our homes today, and it needs to stop, and it needs to stop now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Donna Reed, and I'm from Hernando, Florida. And I just believe, I'm not going to do a whole spiel, but those 5 that are up should be stepped down. They should not be reinducted. There should be 5 fresh blood on the advisory board. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Lil Gilbert. I'm a married, full-time resident of Citrus County, currently in Inverness. I attended school here, as did members of my family, and I spent a lot of time in the libraries. It's obvious to me that Eric and his team and the library board know how to run a library. I've seen most of the displays. They've made me feel educated and respected. I've never been concerned that myself or my children were being indoctrinated or groomed, nor were they being preyed upon by pedophiles. Libraries are for reading and learning. Libraries can encourage children to become teachers, police officers, doctors, scientists, or writers. A library display does not encourage children or anyone else to change their sexual orientation. What it may do is make them realize that they are neither evil nor ugly or alone because of what they are, who they love, and how they were born. You know what does make them feel that way? The bigotry and hatred of people who think their way of thinking and believing is the only right way. I have relatives who are members of the LGBTQ community. When they come to my home, I want them to know that they have nothing to fear, to know that they will be welcomed and respected, because libraries are for everyone in our community, everyone. Don't be part of the fear, the bigotry, and the hatred, Citrus County. Just don't. I may not be a religious scholar, but I do know that hatred and bigotry is not godly. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Can we have the next speaker, please?
Marty Little. I spoke at the last meeting, and I'd like to apologize. I was a little emotional after spending an hour and a half listening to people call me names. I was hoping that today seems much better, that when people do come up here and speak out in hatred with things that haven't been proven, I don't understand why that should be free speech if it's not true. I did a lot of research on this because last week we spoke a lot about pedophiles. And it seems as though people are confused on what a pedophile is and what a gay person is. In fact, the statistics show that less than 1% of gay people have committed any pedophilia. It is committed by pedophiles. Pedophiles don't care whether the child is a girl or a boy. They just want to be with a child. Gay people want to have adult relationships that pedophiles are not capable of. So I get tired of these people coming up here and talking about things that they really don't understand. And if they would take the time to maybe understand and meet people, they may not feel that way. But to demonize a group of people based on a couple books in a library, find a child that's been groomed. Please, find one. Nobody becomes gay because they walk by a display on a table. I don't think anybody in their right mind would choose to be gay when they have to walk around in a town and listen to this and be denied jobs and called names. I was a police officer for close to 30 years. I never once had a problem with a gay person grooming a child. Not one, and I handled the sex crimes in my area. Not once was a gay person involved. Gee, imagine that. They aren't being taught gay things in the library, guys. I can understand being against some of this, but that stuff's not happening. So that's what I don't understand. Those people that are now on the board should be able to finish out their terms. They got on there, they had a 2-year term. That's no different than you being told, well, you know, we don't like what you said last week. You should step down because that doesn't agree with my opinion. Let them finish out their terms. It's only fair. And you know what? We have the best libraries ever here. I'm from Miami, and let me tell you, I could walk into a library and you can't even get anybody to talk to you, let alone deal with you. I go in there, I see the kids being read nice books, enjoying things. They're there, they're helpful for the seniors.
Expired.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, My name is Terry Morriston. I'm from Lecanto, Florida. I served as a Library Advisory Board member a few years ago, and I think today we've heard a little bit of misconceptions about the role of the Library Board, and I wanted to just publicly clarify it from a person who has experience being on that particular board. The role of the Library Board is to serve as the liaison between the library and the BOCC. So when asked to advise, the Library Advisory Board does that. A large amount of our time was spent coordinating with the Friends of the Library and the library staff for fundraising to further support all the activities that the library does for this community. There are some things that the Library Board doesn't do or never had done in the past, and as I currently still attend library board meetings, I feel my knowledge is current. The Library Advisory Board does not select the books, and as was previously stated a few minutes ago, they do not select the displays. So if people are running to select books, it's not the library board that does that, and that'd be micromanaging the library if we did. The library itself is not a babysitting center. There is a policy that children under a certain age should be accompanied by their parent or guardian, so the parent and guardian can have the proper role in selecting library materials. It has also been said that some of the library members need to be changed, but because they've been there so very long. There are some of our members who now, the current members, who have only been appointed since January, so there are fresh faces on that board. I think it's very important that we not forget in everything we've been discussing over the last 9 months that the library truly is a gem in this community, and they do a wonderful job. Every day, thousands of people access the services either online or in person. And this one little topic that we've been discussing has perhaps overshadowed that and the wonderful role that the Library Advisory Board has done when requested, and the number of fundraising events that they have coordinated to help reduce taxes in Citrus County and serve the library. I think that we should all keep that in mind as we discuss today's events. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Again, I'll try to help the clerk out. If you would, please don't forget to fill out a green card. Give to her after you're done speaking. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Janet Genova. I'm from Hernando. I've been a resident of Citrus County for 18 years. Thank you for doing what you're doing. I'm going to try and keep to the matter at hand. I didn't plan on speaking. I just briefly wrote out some notes. So pretty much what I wanted to say is that I think you and the county have been subjected to a lot of misrepresentation and exaggeration, things that have no basis in reality. I think the current board, contrary to some statements, the current board is well balanced. They've performed their volunteer positions admirably. They're more than qualified, and they are diverse, contrary to others' beliefs. I would just like to say, I would like you to reinstate the current board, because these are people that wish to build up our county, promote our library and our community, and not tear it down. Thank you.
Thank you. Give the next speaker, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, I'm Marcia Barnum, and I've been here 17 years, and I'm from Pine Bridge area. I'm not against the LGBT. It's just the sexual displays. Why do we have to have them there? Why is this so important for them to want it? It's parents' rights, and it's about you guys representing a traditional county. I don't know how many ran on traditional family values, but I went to the Library Advisory Board last meeting, and my understanding was that they did not pick the topics for the displays, but they're supposed to advise you guys. They did not advise, and most of the people were against the displays. They did not advise the board to do anything. So by not doing that, it's actually saying they want to keep it. I have a personal friend on this board that I admire that's one of the 5.
Ma'am, if you don't get quite so close, we could probably hear you a little better.
Is that better?
That's great. That's
I'm
great.
sorry.
Mhm.
That I admire very much and love. But if they're for the sexual displays, if they're against the traditional value, our governor says, for goodness sakes, we're going a different direction. I'm asking you to think about that. Where is your governor taking you, and what are your people saying? You represent everybody, and that needs to be the LGBT, but they have their books in the library. We're only against the displays. So I thank you. I pray that you really think about it. And my grandson is homosexual, and I love him. And just because I disagree with my friend or the board or the people in the yellow shirts doesn't mean I don't love them. I just disagree on this point. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Wayne Ellis, and I spoke the last opportunity that we had. I was a high school administrator, and about 35 years ago, we were approached by the gay community to discuss maybe putting up some posters and bringing some information into the school. After quite a bit of discussion, it was determined that we were going to go ahead with this, and we did it. We placed throughout the school posters in the hallway and brochures and the like of that. Well, after a while, it seemed to me that they were more invitational than informational. And having dealt with youngsters for many years, it's a very difficult time when you're a child. You're a captive in the school system. If you're popular, it's wonderful, but if you're not, it's not so good. And many people are very confused. We all experience that peer pressure thing. And as an adult, an old adult, I'm having trouble keeping up with the times. I don't know. I know what my moral system is. I know what my value system is. But it's a wonder that these children have any idea what theirs is, because it seems to be changing so frequently. I'm very much opposed to this. I think that it's going to be much more negative than positive. I would like to say also, a couple of people alluded to the fact that they have people in the gay community in their family. My niece is a lesbian, and like the previous speaker, I love her. I don't know why it seems that I should have to hang my head because I'm a Christian. And I heard today, well, Jesus said we're supposed to love one another. And by the way, it's true. We are supposed to love one another, but we don't have to love the situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Could we have the next speaker, please?
Hello, I'm Camilla Stevens from Beverly Hills, and I've been up here several times, and I'm pretty much going to say the same thing. I am here for my kids and my grandkids. So I'm asking straight out that you would really consider some of the new applicants to the library board. I also want to say that I love my local library. I like going in there. I love being able to take my grandkids in there and feel safe. I do not feel safe if I walk in and I see a display like that I wouldn't allow them to even see in my own home. So I'm really asking you to please consider letting parents be parents and letting children be children. And thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, commissioners and council members. My name is Kevin Ballard. I've been a resident of Citrus County in Inverness since 1991, and I serve as the pastor of Calvary Chapel of Inverness. For those that you nominate and those you appoint to the board, please consider the words of King Solomon written over 3,000 years ago. He said, "Do not awaken love until it's time." He's speaking of all types of sexuality. sexual attraction, gender identity, the defining of what a marriage is, the defining of what a family is, that is something that children should be shielded from. So I think those nominees and those you appoint should consider those words when it comes to the accessibility of the material that talks about any type of sexuality. What talks about marriage, talks about gender. Again, I think we are better served if the advisory board and the parents of Citrus County are in partnership together, and that you limit access to minors of this type of material. It's not one type of sexuality, it's all types of sexuality. I'm against it because children should have the opportunity to grow up and allow their parents to define for them what a family is and what marriage is. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Is there another speaker?
Good afternoon, commissioners. Library governing board members. I have a letter on file. So as the chairman of the Citrus County chapter of Mass Resistance, so I see it's ticking down from 3. Could that be adjusted back to 5?
You should have 5.
Thank you very much. I'm here representing the Citrus County chapter of Florida Mass Resistance, a branch of the international pro-family organization Mass Resistance. Today, we are presenting you with a petition containing the signatures of many hundreds of voters who are demanding an end to LGBT propaganda displays targeting children in our county's libraries. We presented about 800 of these signatures to the county during the last Library Advisory Board meeting on March 22. We're now presenting you with the updated package, which contains well over 1,000 signatures. We didn't have time to do a final count as we have been gathering signatures up to the last minute, but it may be, in fact, well over 1,200. And if we had more time, it would be a lot more. Many elections in this county have been decided by much smaller numbers of voters. You simply can't ignore this and hope it goes away. All across this country, parents and citizens are mobilizing against the rampant LGBT indoctrination of children that's going on. And Florida has been leading the way. Our state's new Parental Rights and Education Act, signed by Governor Ron DeSantis, bans schools from engaging in the kind of LGBT grooming represented by last June's Citrus County Library displays. The fact is that the vast majority of Citrus County residents don't want their tax dollars subsidizing LGBT propaganda targeting children in the county's public libraries any more than in the schools, and they're demanding that you, their elected officials in a conservative county, take action to permanently cancel these displays, beginning with the appointment of new Library Advisory Board members. Citrus County Library Director Eric Head recently announced a cooling off period on Pride Month displays this year, but we all know that the Library Advisory Board will likely push to bring them back in 2023 if all 5 current members are reappointed, based on the Library Advisory Board's vote on March 22 in support of the displays. The LAB is the body that you entrusted with this decision back in January. And as far as the comments of the one of the board members, Neil Brennan, she claiming that she had nothing to do with it. More than one board member has come before you as a county commission telling you to keep the displays, defending the displays, so that's totally disingenuous. They've come before you and they've told you to keep the displays in the past when you had the opportunity to cancel them back in January, and the decision back in January was to punt it back to them, and now they're disclaiming all responsibility when they decided not to approve a motion to address that very issue. So I don't appreciate the histrionics. You don't owe them an apology. They owe the people an apology for disrespecting the many people who showed up at that meeting and were ignored. The other side has accused, that's why we're asking you to replace the current members with people who will respect parental rights and community values. The other side has accused us of being haters, but they are the ones who have been engaging in hateful personal attacks on residents who just want our libraries to stop serving as propaganda centers for the LGBT political agenda. One of the most hateful remarks I ever heard at a commission meeting was uttered earlier this month when an LGBT activist proudly declared herself a Disney pervert and said the Bible should have been banned because it's full of hate. I'm glad she apologized today, but the Bible is not full of hate. It teaches us to love the sinner and hate the sin. We don't hate anyone. We just don't want children to be used as pawns by adults to validate their own sexual choices by pushing this agenda down their throats. Let children be children and let parents do the parenting, as one of the previous speakers just said. The other side also has accused us of pushing a culture war, but that war was actually declared by them. We're not the ones who have demanded that our libraries serve as taxpayer-funded propaganda centers for any ideological sexual agenda. They have. We love the libraries and want them to focus on their core mission of promoting reading and literacy, not pushing leftist political agendas. The other side doesn't. And make no mistakes, this issue is very important to them because they have come before you time after time to speak about it. As a local liberal commentator recently went so far as to say that this is a battle for the soul of Citrus County. We agree. The other side wants cultural leftist values to prevail and eventually dominate in Citrus County, transforming our county into another liberal stronghold. But most Citrus County voters don't want that, and they don't want us to turn into another Tampa or Fort Lauderdale. We know the libraries are a major focus, as one of the previous speakers says. The ALA wants to push, LGBT values. A Marxist lesbian was just appointed. So we don't have to guess what will become of Citrus County if we don't stop and nip this agenda in the bud. Other communities have come before and they have shown us what happens if we don't stamp this out if we don't nip it in the bud. So please listen to the voters and do the right thing to protect this community and its children. They are counting on you.
Thank you very much. Your time's expired. We have the next speaker. Is there another speaker?
Good afternoon, Commissioners and, well, Library Advising Board. I'm a resident of
Could you give us your
Hernando.
name?
Your name is Mark Conley.
Thank
you. I've been a resident of Citrus County for 4.5 years, moving here from Los Angeles to live in a community that respects traditional family values and the rights afforded to us under the Constitution, the rights of free speech, freedom of religion, and freedom of association. During the past 10 months, this community has been roiled by a dispute over library displays designed to promote a particular ideology and groom our children to be receptive to the LGBTQ lifestyle that is inconsistent with the traditional family values of our community. When the presence of these displays triggered a vociferous reaction from our community and objections to displays that promote an LGBTQ lifestyle to unsuspecting children who are innocently trying to use the library, the members of the LAB failed to answer the objections by explaining how the displays fit into a policy that the library is following with respect to displays in general, but instead launched ad hominem attacks on the objectors, branding them as haters and homophobes. From this, it appears that the library does not have a well-defined policy for displays that can be defended, and therefore there can be no accountability when there is a misstep, such as there was with the LGBTQ displays. And when the County Board of Commissioners specifically asked the LAB to review their policies on displays and come back to the commissioners with recommendations for a policy to deal with these issues that the commissioners could act on, the LAB, led by April McLaughlin and Neil Brennan, flatly and arrogantly refused to do so. At that same meeting, no one in the LAB could articulate a policy on the choice of displays, and even Director Head failed to articulate one. All they could say in their defense is, we have a procedure. If someone has an objection to a display, they make a complaint about it and we can consider it. That's not good enough. As the commissioners asked, the LAB should dig into the problem and make recommendations to the Board of Commissioners or the Library Advisor Board on policies for determining what displays are suitable for our libraries. True, the LAB doesn't make policies, but their job is to advise the commissioners on appropriate policies after studying the relevant issues. I am a retired corporate attorney who practiced law for more than 30 years, advising boards of directors, committees.
Your time has expired, sir.
And business people.
Thank you.
When I was asked by my clients.
I'll have to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Time has expired. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Diane Campbell, and I live in Floral City. And when my kids were growing up, I was always told, or when I was growing up, I was told, we do what our parents say. until we're 18 years of age. Then we're responsible for ourselves. That's why I feel this information shouldn't be put in the library, why it has to be out in the front part of the library. Why is it that special that it has to be right there when you walk in? I don't get it. Why can't it be in an adult section where an adult has to take them to it to be able to explain it to them? Otherwise, these kids are going to be so confused. We have kids trying to kill themselves and everything else over this stuff, and it's ridiculous. We're supposed to be the adults. We're supposed to be there to teach our children, not a library with different kinds of books there at a young age on sexuality. It's not right. It's not fair to them. It's not fair. And I think the last time I was here, I said, how would you like to explain to a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old that their 18-year-old cousin decided to be a boy? Have you ever tried to do that? Do you know how hard it is? And it's broken up our family. We still want to be with them. We still love them. But trying to explain to a child what's going on these days is not right. They need to be old enough to be able to explain it to them. They need to be able to get that far. But if we're going to start in 5th grade and under, or in elementary school, we're going to be at a loss. Nobody's going to be able to grow up right. And we're not saying they're not right. They're right for themselves. Then let them teach their children. Let us teach ours. That's all we're asking. Put the books in an area where an adult has to take them, to explain things to them. That's all we're asking. That, and if it means changing the board, all 5 members, then we need to change all 5 members. If that's what it takes. But the biggest complaint is that they're in the wrong section of the library. Not that they're in the library totally, it's that they're in the wrong section. That's what we believe. We don't want it out front. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Bobby Beswick from Inverness. I have an anxiety problem. I'm a heterosexual. I'm a family person. Do I see a display in front of the library promoting that? No. And you keep focusing on just the gay angle? What about the transsexual? And the list keeps growing. I take offense to you teaching my great-grandchildren this. When my great-child came home from school and Dad told his mom that he was a girl, and she said, no, you're a boy. And he said, no, my teacher said I was a girl. This is way out of control, and the list keeps growing. Bisexual, transgender, etc., etc. This is my future, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren. I want my side of the story being in front of the library also. Family, heterosexualism, what is wrong with that? That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Tim Gilbert. First time speaking with you guys, so it's kind of cool, right? You guys taking a lot today, so sorry for that, right? From both sides. Fun fact, I'm a straight male. I have a wife. I have a daughter. I am a liberal as well. So constantly I'm called groomer. I'm called a pedophile. Fun fact, I actually help volunteer groups who go after groomers and pedophiles online. I'm a cybersecurity engineer by day. So I work with data. And I love the person that made the comment out here earlier about, oh, well, most of our children are being attacked by these gay people and these trans people and these groomers. Show me the data for that. Can anyone? I will wait. Gladly. I will give you my phone, email, and I would love to argue that with you because it doesn't exist. Now, my friends that work at the board, or the library, just common employees, I've asked them, hey guys, what do you feel about this? Well, everyone's dragging us under. We're not doing anything wrong. We're educating. We're a library. Guess what? I've used the library. I've used it for internet plenty of times because Spectrum, yay. So I've used the internet plenty of times. I love we can agree on that. They're there to educate. okay? Guess what? Again, I'm a straight male. I am. My wife had a man of honor at our wedding. And guess what? He looked beautiful in his blue outfit. He did. He's not going after any children. No one is. No one at the library is welcoming your kids to the front door saying, hey, I want to make you gay. Come on in. And if they are, cool. I'm with you. I'll team up with you. I will team up with you to stop that. Now, the last thing before I go, because I don't want to use all my time either, the groups that made me inspired to come talk today is scary, okay? I've looked at some of the groups that have spoke today. I've looked at their internet presence. I've looked at who they're hosted by. I've looked at who they're linked to. I've looked at all of it, and I'm more than glad to share that with anybody. It's terrifying. I'm not here to threaten you with a pitchfork. I'm not here to scream or yell. It's not gonna happen, right? So, don't put, yeah, I'll stop there so I don't get too emotional. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Tom Barnum. I'm a 17-year resident of Citrus County. We've been visiting for about 20 years before that. One of the things that attracted us to Citrus County was the values of this county, conservative values. And I agree with the last speaker that, you know, there's nobody at the front door of the library encouraging kids to come in and turn them gay or bisexual or whatever. But allowing these types of displays to continue is getting that camel's nose in the tent. It's just a start. That's all it is. And we're encouraging you to put a stop to it. We've heard that the Library Advisory Board isn't responsible for these. Who is? Somebody needs to get to the bottom of who is responsible for determining what displays are put on in this county libraries. Is it the library director? Is it the board? Is it you folks? Nobody seems to know or want to accept responsibility for it. I would recommend somebody look into it and come up with a process. This is who is responsible, so we know who to go to. I would just ask you to honor the community values here. I've been keeping track. 3 times as many people in this room have spoken against these displays and recommending that the folks on the board that are up for renewal not be reappointed. 3 times as many. I think you got a microcosm of the county here. So I asked you to consider what this county wants, please. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker, please.
Thank you, Mr. Director and Board, for hearing me today. I respectfully ask that we would replace the current board members on the library board. And I saw a little bit of trying to maybe pass the buck a little bit today on who makes the decisions. I'm not sure who does, but I saw some people that were supposedly not responsible for them. We'll just leave it there. I'm a member, or live in Citrus County. I live over in Pine Ridge. And what bothers me is that if there's a little 8-year-old boy sitting in that chair there, I can go over there and I can talk to him about bicycles or skateboards or you name it, and it's just fine. It worries me that I might be able to take some of the literature the library has on LGBTQ, and if I took that and I went and sat next to him and started maybe reading this literature, same thing that's available to everybody, I could possibly be in a lot of trouble for doing that. I could possibly be arrested. I could possibly spend my life, the rest of my life, as have to be on record as some type of an offender. I'm just wondering what gives our government the right to possibly be a participant in teaching this or supplying the material. What gives them the right to do that? And I could possibly spend time in jail for doing exactly the same thing. I just have to ask that question. I respectfully thank you so much for speaking.
Thank you.
Chair, for the record, can I get his name?
Yeah, can we get your name, sir? Sir? We need your name for the record, and we need you to fill out a green card, please. Ms. Smith, correct? Yes. Next speaker, please.
My name is Clive Grant. Actually came here to speak, but I was just back there. I'm actually a new resident here in Citrus County. We relocated to Citrus County mostly for the conservative view. So, yes, I'm against this. Totally, I'm against it. I'm not going to be here. There's been a lot of good speech here. We don't hate anybody. I love everybody, really. But I do think that's not a place for it. And one thing, I've been to the meeting once, and I've noticed that the majority of people...
I'm sorry, sir. That time is wrong. We have no timekeeper now, so I'll just... We'll put you on the honor system. You got about another minute or so, okay?
Okay. I noticed that the majority of people is actually against this. And when I relocated to this country from my country, I believed that this was a democratic country. So I believe if it is a democratic country and we still stick to that, the majority should be what listened to. And we see that even in an election, if the majority wins. If not, well, today we'll have a different government. That's what I would.
Thank you very much. Can we have the next speaker, please?
Antonia Arabona, Beverly Hills. Real love teaches correction. And you go to boot camp and they train you. You go to school and they train you. And the new generation has been trained by people's opinion, by abominations. And so they're making excuses. Why do we even have to sign papers to put a stop to evil, to put a stop to wrongdoing? How can you train the children? And the parents have not been trained also. They've been going to subliminal messages from the television, the foul language from the television, the foul language on the flags. These are little children and they were trained wrong, okay? There's no excuse about it. The authorities are supposed to, they're getting paid for what? To bring correction. Not to accept it or not to have, oh, well, they can't help it. If somebody has a cancer, you say, oh, well, you can help it. Yes, they can help it. It's what they're eating. It's what they're putting in the atmosphere. They put in, to kill birds, they kill birds, and it kills the bees, and it kills the butterflies, and it poisons the atmosphere. And then Monsanto, he's allowed to put pesticides in the seed of what people are eating, and then they radiate it, okay? What is the government, what is the authority doing? Just taking money? Or whatever, or they think they're precious that we have to say, oh, please, thank you. No, that's your authority is supposed to bring righteousness. It's supposed to do what is right. So what everybody's sleeping? Okay, they're murdering babies, or they call it abortion. It's murder. How come we not put a stop to it? Because everybody, oh, no, that's politics. Oh, we can't do this, or we can't do that. What is wrong? What is wrong with you people? Wake up. Put a stop to the abominations, This country was never like that. Foul language, subliminal messages, putting foul language on the flag that you say it's the United States. And people from other countries, they're not buying from the United States because they know that Monsanto, he's allowed to put pesticides in the seeds, and they're allowed to radiate it, What is wrong with people? I'm a fan of common sense. I'm a fan of wisdom, all right? So everybody's doing, where are they training? Are they training in boot camp? Are they training them in the school? Everybody's getting trained by evil, by wrongdoing, by abominations, and they think it's okay, and they're making excuses. No, love corrects. Love teaches.
It's her time. She could talk, okay? Go ahead, ma'am. I'm sorry for the interruption. It's okay. I believe your time's expired. It's nice when we have commissioners speaking out on their opinion before they heard the rest of the folks talk. So, yes, sir.
Name is Frank Papson from Hernando. Been here before. Been listening very intently to what's going on here. And I had a lot of different things I wanted to say, and a lot of people said some of the things I wanted to say. Somebody brought up the fact that we don't censor books, but that's not true. You do censor books. You don't allow Playboy or Hustler magazine to be on display in front of the library for moral reasons. And just, some may say homosexuality is a moral issue, and others say it's their rights. Well, I can't say one way or another whether it's a moral or it's not. One thing I do know, I've heard people say, get rid of the school board, get rid of the library board. And then I heard somebody on the board turn around and says, we have no control over it. So the question that came to my mind is, who made the decision to put these displays on, and who said you can't take them down? Because the people should have a right to say something. You should be able to say, no, you can't do this, or yes, you can. As far as educating children are concerned, I remember years ago when 18-year-olds were fighting for the right to vote. And the argument made by people then was, if he's old enough to die for their country, then they're old enough to decide who runs their country. Well, at the same time that was going on, science turned around and said that a man's brain, a person's brain, not a man, a person's brain doesn't mature until the age of 26. So that was one of the arguments they had against giving the 18-year-olds the right to vote. But they gave them the right to vote, and we are where we are, whether you like it or not. But children, you got 5-year-olds that are just beginning to go to school. I was 5 in the first grade. Okay, I remember that because I had a really good time because I was a brat. And I gave people hell all the time, and I enjoyed it. And I still enjoy it. But I had a lot to learn. I didn't know between right and wrong. I didn't know how to associate with other kids. I had a lot to learn. And one of the things that I was forced to learn was to behave. And some of the things that I learned by sight. I learned by sound. I heard it, I saw it, and that's what taught me. And when you go into a public library and you see things like this...
Your time has expired, sir.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
No caution lights.
Yeah, I know. Next speaker, please. Is there another speaker? Let's move along, please.
Thank you. Deb Spence, Crystal River. When I was 5 years old, I was still eating mud pies. We've come a long way, baby. I didn't quite know what to say today, so I've been scribbling notes from everybody that has spoken about today. And I almost have my bingo card completed between the words pedophile, lesbian, Marxist, grooming, and all the other awful words that people use. Somebody said that the library is not about differing views. Well, that's exactly what the library is here for. If you don't want differing views, there's certain TV stations you can look at that only give you one frame of mind. You want to talk about not being represented, I think I'm probably the lone lesbian liberal Democrat in the room right now. But I have faith in you that as Republicans that you will listen to me and that you will support some of what I have to say. I'm not here only because of the library board. I've been here for many other items as well. But what I heard today was parental rights. We heard about a mother whose child was beaten up on the playground because a boy was wearing a dress. What she never talked about is that her son was bullying the boy in the dress. That's the problem here. Had mother known that this boy was wearing a dress, which his parents said he could do, parental rights, then this would not have happened. I had another story the other day of a woman who was here who said that her 17-year-old son can't find a date in school because all the girls are lesbians or trans. My next door neighbor has 3 high school kids. One of them is a girl. And I asked her, are all the girls in school trans? She said, no. Obviously, this kid's a little bit skeevy, and the girls don't want to be around him. So
Okay, okay, please, let's try to
Let's look at
keep
what
some
we're dealing with
seriousness.
here. This is not about the library display. None of this is about a library display. There's nothing wrong with a book of Pete Buttigieg with his husband and his 2 kids that's going to tell some kid to groom some child into being gay. It is up to parents to teach empathy to their kids so that they can say, yeah, Johnny does have 2 daddies, or Johnny has 2 mummies, or Bruce over here wears a dress. And that's okay, because he's finding himself. We don't know what it's all about. We don't have to have the answers. We don't have to tell the kids everything that's going on. We don't tell them about homeless and mental health and drug issues. So let's kids be kids, but let parents on both sides and on all sides be able to figure out how to get through this. But I support reappointing the 5 members. They have done nothing wrong in this whole process. They came in after the library display, and they deserve to be reappointed for their love of library and what it all means. So thank you.
Thank you. Can we have the next speaker, please?
Good afternoon, Debbie Wheatley, Inverness, Florida. I have a couple of concerns as I've been, like everybody else, listening to everything. Number one, the gentleman that came up and said if he reads these materials to somebody in the library, could he be arrested as a pedophile? I mean, that's a legitimate question. That's a legitimate question about these materials. The second issue, nobody seems to be taking responsibility as to where these came from. I'm looking at some of the records of some of these 5, and I'm thinking one of them has some issues as she was on a board for one of the, for someone that supports Black Lives Matter. And this is a serious question. Do we have any money flow coming in here from George Soros? Is that what the issue is?
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm just questioning.
Please.
It's a question. It's a legitimate question that we need to ask. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Nancy Sigmund. I've actually been here before, but not for this. I'm a mother, a grandmother, a great-grandmother, and I love the children. I don't know whose responsibility it was to either say, let's take it out. There's been enough people come forward saying this display doesn't need to be in the forefront of our library, but somebody needed to take responsibility for that and fix it. Now, does that mean that all 5 board member or LAB needs to be removed and replaced? Maybe, if that's what it would take to fix this. Because I personally would not want my children, my grandchildren, and especially my great-grandchild to walk into a library and see that. I loved the library. I was a bookworm. And I love reading to this day. A library is very important to our community. Let's not ruin it.
Thank you. Is anyone else to address the board? Okay, I'm good. Oh, okay.
Hi, my name's April McLaughlin. I'm currently the chairperson of the Library Advisory Board. Thank you for taking my application. I just want to thank the people that are on the Library Advisory Board now. This might be my last opportunity, the 5 that are on there. We're just volunteers because we have a passion for the literacy, and we don't, there's nothing negative. We don't tell them what not to do. We don't advise the library or the employees. We're appointed volunteers. We've taken a lot of abuse. Social media has said things about us that are completely untrue. Some of the people that have spoken today, like they said, are personal friends of mine. We have a difference of opinion, but we still respect one another. Normally, that's how things go in Citrus County, and most of the people that are here that are Citrus County residents treat each other that way. We've had issues in the past where we've all agreed to disagree, and we've had issues where we've taken that into account. We've treated each other that way. This time is different. We've been treated badly, and I'd like to thank the people that volunteered and that have been on the board and that put up with a lot this time to put their applications in and even to be considered to go through this. There's been some misconception and things that aren't so. The Library Advisory Board advises. We don't make the policy. We will speak up if we are advised by the library of something that we think, needs to be changed or that we don't see, and it's according to Citrus County values. I'm the chairperson. I don't know how the people on the board are registered to vote. I don't know what church and what synagogue they go to. I shouldn't care what church or synagogue they go to. I shouldn't care how they're registered to vote and how they vote and what they do with their time away from the board. We live in Citrus County. The only thing we're interested in is the betterment of the library and literacy for our citizens of Citrus County. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Third and final time.
My name is Sandy Price, and I've lived here for 31 years, and I just have a couple of comments. When Mr. Labriola and his ilk get up here and say he's demanding this and demanding that, and that he's speaking for everyone in this county, he is not. He is not speaking for me. The Library Advisory Board is an all-volunteer group. And I have one thing to say about that. The library makes the policy, make no mistake about it. Because if the Library Advisory Board actually made policy, we would have the New York Times online in this county right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other comments for the board at this time? Okay, we're going to close public comment.
Chair, I'd like to be recognized.
Just a second. I'm going to talk a little bit about some housekeeping we're going to do here, and then Councilman Brown has been asked to be recognized first. So usually after public comment, we give each member a chance to respond to what the people had to say, but I have a feeling during the next process, everyone will get a chance to do that. So all I'm going to ask is that the public sits quietly and listens to the board deliberate. They've sat here and listened to what you've had to say. We had some people complaining about, going off the subject. And there's, even right now, as I said here, there's so much hemming and hawing going up here, it's very hard to concentrate. So people are very upset that we're taking time to listen to you, and regardless of what side you're on. So that's what we're going to do. I've said before, our job is to listen to you. You're the purpose of our work, not an interruption of it. So I don't care what side you represent today. If there was 50 of you on one side and 10 on the other, we're going to sit and listen to everything everybody has to say. So that's our job, because what started this was the outcry of nobody's listening, all right? It turned into the sexual orientation discussion, but that's not what started this. What started this was the debate about we went and we asked about this and nobody listened to us and we were disregarded. My concern about all this was two things that were hit on today, and that was, what is the policy and who sets it? And when I asked that question, it got beat back and forth. But we don't set it, the board does. Well, the library board does. So if nothing else, over the course of these last 3 meetings, I think we've determined that this board sitting here right now makes the policies, okay? Also, just as this board sitting here right now will make the appointments to the library board. So just keep that in mind. This is not about banning books. This is about appointing who we think are the best citizen volunteers to advise this board. And that's what our task is. So if you sign up to be a member of the Aviation Advisory Board, they look for your experience as a pilot, right? I guess I wouldn't apply for that since I don't fly and I don't know anything about it. So, you tend to try to seek the best that the folks in the community want to stand up. And I just have to say, I see a lot of, even though we've gotten into this negative, and let's face it, folks, there's been name calling on both sides of the fence here. Let's get away from that. Let's get back to We're a small community. In the past, this was not a very controversial board. And we had very dedicated people in the community that stepped forward and volunteered, and year after year, they were the only ones that did. Now we had this conflict, or yeah, I'll call it conflict. In my mind, when somebody came to the Library Advisory Board and they had a room full of people concerned about the direction and the policies of the Library Advisory Board, that should have been brought to the Board of County Commissioners. That's what advisory boards do. So as far as I'm concerned, that was the first breakdown. The second breakdown was when the Board of County Commissioners refused to exercise their authority as the policy-making board and say, oh, we don't set policies, we leave that to the Library Advisory Board. So again, hopefully we're setting two wrongs right today. When we leave here today, I will assure you of a couple things. One is there will be 5 people appointed to the Library Advisory Board. You may like it, you may not, but that's what's going to happen, and we're going to continue, and we're going to go home and continue with our lives. So the first thing I'll say is thank you all who have served. Thank you all to the many people who have applied. It's extraordinary, because one thing that I saw is I just could not believe, I mean, everybody that's applied have great backgrounds, but I just could not believe some of the level of experience and the backgrounds of the people who applied for this board. So we're very fortunate. We, in the past, felt if we had 7 applicants for 5 members, we were that was a very exciting thing, because we got to discuss who we think would be best. And the fact that we had 39 at last count for 5 spots puts us in another tougher position. So before I start down the line here with Councilman Brown, I just want to say what I did and what I encourage people to do to some degree or another, so that we can get to some sense of consensus here to move forward, is that I basically went through all the applicants myself and ranked them, top 12, next 12, whatever. And I thought, you know, we're all not going to be in agreement with every applicant, but if we went down that, talked briefly about who we rated the highest and why, we might find some commonality, and then that could drive us to consensus. If we have 5 of us that picked the same person out of 7, that might be a good place to start. You know, so that was my thinking. You know, we tried to look for common ground, but in the end, you know, I'll heed to the will of the board. If you want to have public comment on every motion and every nomination, we can do that. And if that's the case, we better order for pizza, because we're going to be here for a while. Or we can sit and discuss how we can come up with a slate of individuals that everybody can support. And I'll just say, I won't go into it now unless you want me to, but I'll be very happy to tell you what my criteria were for my ranking system and how I got to where I'm at, because I think you all deserve that. You know, if you're included in my top, please don't do that. If you're included in my top 5 or top 10, I think it's important for you to know why. And if you're not, I think you should know why you didn't make that first cut. It doesn't mean that you're not. And in lieu of all the hemming and hawing and deep sighing up here, I'm going to say one more thing, and that is, if you don't make it this time, it's a 2-year term. Please apply again, okay? That's my final thing to you. I'm sure we won't have this kind of turnout, but if whoever we appoint to this board today does their job, and that is advise the Board of County Commissioners or the Library Governing Board, then we shouldn't have this issue in the future, okay? So that said, Councilman Brown.
Thank you, Commissioner Kitchen. At this time, I move to make a motion to appoint Edith Ramlow, Carol Spring, Neil Brennan, April McLaughlin, Shavona Reed to justifiably fulfill their duties on the Library Advisory Board.
Second.
Let me finish. I have observed during advisory board meetings and will state without prejudice that these volunteers are hardworking, knowledgeable, dedicated, and non-political individuals that have labored and volunteered many hours to better our library system. They have provided sound and beneficial advice to our library director, who I believe has the complete confidence in their abilities and knowledge. These volunteers have done absolutely nothing wrong or improper that would warrant this board at this time to remove any of them from their place on the Library Advisory Board. I believe it would be an affront to their characters to do so. That being said, I would invite and encourage any of the interested applicants to apply to the Library Advisory Board when any of these members' terms expire.
Was that a second?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a second by Commissioner Davis. Just as clarification, some of the terms have expired. So that what you just said probably needs to be readdressed, because the ones I see, and there's ones that were pointed in 20 that are expiring in 22, and that's the end of a 2-year term. So that's the motion on the floor. Is there any board discussion on the motion? I will jump out and tell you I cannot support that, and I'll tell you why, is that I think that's an affront to the people that took the time to apply. Have we looked at the number of people with master's degrees in library science that have applied? So I'm not saying the people that are on the board now are bad. I'm not saying they didn't do a good job. Our job is to look at the quality of the applicants that come before us. And when I see that we have people with PhDs in education and master's degrees and years of teaching experience, that's what went to the forefront of mine. So I'm not saying I won't support that motion, but to me, we get back to the status quo. It's the same thing we have, and I just don't want to see us go through this again. Commissioners, any other discussion? Commissioner Carnahan.
I agree with you. I won't support that either. And I'll tell you, after sitting here listening to just different comments that are being made, it is this board's job up here to give policy. We do have other groups out there that are volunteers, the aviation, the tourist board, and they make recommendations and they bring them to the board. So this is the way I look at it. This advisory board is not going to take a position to send policy or send their opinion to us on what policy should be. I think we should just dissolve it, and this board should be taking up the task of doing the job and making policy and setting forth policy. And that's where I would be, just to demolish it and this board do the job.
Chair?
Yes. Commissioner Davis.
My understanding is that they are not setting policy, that they are doing an awful lot of fundraising with Friends of the Library and acting as a liaison between the library and the Friends of the Library system with us and helping us raise money to reduce taxes for everyone. So I don't see where dissolving the Library Advisory Board does anything but hurt us tremendously. And I seconded this only because I would say that I do agree with Councilman Brown, but also 2 of these folks have only been on there for about half a second. So it seems really awful to bring them on and then cycle them off. I am incredibly humbled and thankful that we had so many qualified applicants. That is absolutely nothing against them. It is simply this. The only one that, and I have to actually disagree with Ms. McLaughlin about something. We do have to care about the makeup of the board. We do have to care about the diversity on the board. And I did take time last summer to look up everybody's political registrations. And they mimic, the board actually mimics the political makeup of this county. And I'm well aware that there are folks on the far right that think that I'm a leftist, but by God, I am pretty doggone far right of center, and just because I stand to the left of you does not make me a leftist. I am incredibly fiscally conservative. I represent everyone in this county, which includes those in the gay community. And for those who have said that you don't like that you didn't get your way, the issue is that you are not the majority. My email box and my ears have been filled with folks saying, thank you for standing up for this. They don't want to come here because they don't want to have to endure what this is, especially those who are gay. They really don't want to have to endure this. And to the folks in the audience right now who have been brave enough to come up here and speak, God bless you. I mean, that's a hard route to take. So I will say that in my mind, there has been an enormous amount of misrepresentation. This display was a modest little thing in the entryway. Director Head has already said, if and when we do it again, it'll be in the adult section. There is absolutely nothing grooming or sexualized about this display whatsoever. I am a big fan of metaphors. I will say that we have, as a conservative, I will say that we definitely have some problems on the left nationally. Absolutely, 100% have some problems that we need to fight. But you guys, we have a candle. We have this tiny little flickering candle in our library system for the folks who are LGBTQ in this community. All right, you called a 5-alarm fire. You're acting like the whole world is on fire here. Please go fight the battle where you really need to, where problems are happening. because we are not defunding the police here. We are all conservatives up here. We are not defunding the police. We are not tearing down monuments, and we are doggone sure not grooming children. There's a lot of new faces here today that spoke, and I'm telling you, it has been dramatically mischaracterized. Again, it is not sexual. It is absolutely 100% not sexual. I have the list of books, even though I am not of that community and I really don't care to read this personally. I'm going to make my way down reading every single one of those books just to make sure that I did my homework. And if I'm wrong, guess what? I'll be the first one to bring it back up. So that's why I voted that way.
Okay.
Or I made the second, excuse me.
Mr. Kennard.
Go ahead and wade in here. First of all, Mr. Chairman, you are exactly right that the quality of applicants really was quite incredible. The breadth of experience, the length of time in our community, the willingness to serve is very impressive. With that being said, I am going to support the motion, but let me back up a little bit. I'm going to support the motion because what Councilman Brown said is that, and it was brought to our attention, the seated Library Advisory Board members had absolutely nothing to do with this display. Mr. Labriola has wisely brought to this board's attention the many shortcomings in our policies, how this board operates, who's responsible. Over the last 9 months, he's brought to our attention, well, you're not doing this right, you're not doing this right, you're not doing it. How does this, who do we go to? Who do we appeal this decision to? Hopefully, we're wading through that mess and cleaning it all up so that when somebody has an issue with the library, they know who to go to. The Library Advisory Board and the Library Governing Board and the Board of County Commissioners all are singing from the same page, and we've not been doing that. He's brought that to our attention. Back to the seated members. They've done nothing. They've done nothing to be unseated at this point. I am inclined, and I'm going to vote to support them remaining in those seats. They had nothing more to do with this display than the TDC did. So I don't believe there's any reason whatsoever at this point to remove them from their positions. I hope everybody that's applied that you do not take that as a knock on your application. I've gone through them. I've read through them. I've spent an awful lot of time debating over how I was going to, what decision, what side of this, who was I going to replace? Was I going to replace any of them today? And this is where I've landed. So.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to the issue? Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes, yeah. Yeah. We're happy you're here. Want to hear what you have to say. Make sure we can hear you. Okay?
I'm a little gruffy. I've had allergy issues, but I support the motion for pretty much what everybody has stated. The board that is standing, or maybe not, they didn't do anything wrong. Yes, we have some real quality people. I'm reading this thinking, wow, where were y'all when I was on the library board? Sandy, you remember way back in the old days. And basically all we ever did as that board was fundraise and support the library. I don't ever recall us having a meeting where we said, we're going to go tell them we want this display. We didn't tell anybody we wanted anything. We were there saying, how do we help? How do we support the library? So from my experience of being on the board years ago and seeing what the board has done and realizing the board did not bring this display to the libraries, I think it's unfair to them to boot them off. And because of the dog and pony show that's been going on for several months, it's not fair to all these people who applied thinking, wow, look at all these open seats. It's like the cart got before the horse, so.
Okay. Anyone else that hasn't spoke? Yes, Commissioner Slagle.
I appreciate.
Can you use the microphone?
I appreciate everybody that applied. I spent a lot of time going through this, and I appreciate that there are some PhDs and higher education on the sitting board right now. You're no slackers either. And I do agree that we need to really look at our country and protect and stop what's going on, but it's not, this board is not responsible for what's happening to our country. And I'm going to support this nomination for that very reason. Thank you.
Okay, everyone's spoken, and before we do a roll call vote, I want to just say this. For the record, I'm going to tell you who my top 10 were. It's up to anybody else. What's? No, sir, we've had public comments. We've had hours of it. So please sit down, okay? We will. Okay. We're not finished discussion. When we're done, before we go to the roll call vote, we'll take one final thing on this. I just want to say, for the record, so that people know this, I want to tell you what they are, and I'm going to leave my package with the clerk because I only have one copy, and basically I've gone through every applicant and ranked them. So if anybody's interested, now or in the future, it was worth the time to read these and go through them. So just for what it's worth, I want to let you know that my number 1 ranking was Jill Waggy. Number 2 was Daniel Riley. Number 3 was Steve Moline. Number 4 was Mark Conley. Number 5 was Leonora Nelson. Number 6 was Edith Ramlow. Number 7 was Margaret Hampton. Number 8 was Terry Morrison. Number 9 was Dorothy Amaron. And number 10 was Eleanor Elsler. So just so you know, just based purely, I don't know any of these folks, purely based on their resumes, I will leave this with the clerk. So the motion made by Councilman Brown and second by Commissioner Davis is to reappoint the 5 members on there. So at this time, we'll open it to public comment on that motion only, okay?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Can I
Yes, sir.
make one comment?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned Mr. Conley's name, and I had a comment written down here that I forgot to mention. Let's just say I was not seated here at the time he made the comment, but I did hear it. He said that we did not have a coherent policy on displays, and he was exactly right. He was exactly on point.
Well, and I didn't, for the interest of time, because I know it doesn't matter, but I made comments why I selected those things. And under Mr. Conley, I put down he has a law degree. You know, he's good at things like that, looking at policy and so on. So anyway, yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Madam Attorney, or Mr. Administrator. No pun intended there with the discussion today. But I like the route you're taking, and here's why. And I like Commissioner Carnahan's solution may be long-term, but that's no reason to get rid of the existing route that we have now. If there's some ambiguity about who's in charge of policy. Mm-hmm. But you've heard a lot today about how the majority. I tell you, I run the largest business organization in the county, and I hear nothing about this. I hear that there may be a turnpike coming into our county, or there may be, we're about 4 directors short of a full deck, that we have inflation, that we have all these other issues. So I don't think the majority of the business community is worried about what type of displays are in the library or who the library board should be. And even if the majority were, you know, I always go back to the governor standing in the schoolhouse door in Alabama. He was not listening to the minority then either. Majority wanted him to stop people from coming in that schoolhouse door. So I'm telling y'all, don't stand in front of the schoolhouse door. Let's get this behind us. Let's turn the page. I assure you, y'all have not heard the last from some of these folks. Most of these folks are great Christian people that were preaching love, but others are agitators, and you have not heard the last of them. I'm making that prediction. I'm going to put their names in an envelope sealed that y'all can read. You have not heard the last of them. But please, let's not have the next 4 or 5 meetings, because not only God is watching, but your constituents are watching, and the next county administrator is watching too.
Very original idea about the envelope and the name, so it was very good. Yeah. Is there anyone else to speak on this, motion?
John Labriola, Inverness. I think I speak for a lot of people in this room that feel that the board's motion and the second and the people supporting it are demonstrating tremendous arrogance, just for failure to pay attention to what the vast majority of this chamber said. And it seems like what's going on here is this library advisory board is being seen as a place where the elected leaders of this county can simply just pass the buck, disclaim all responsibility, and say, oh, it's this board over here. And yet you know where the board stands, because you gave that board what you gave that board. You delegated that responsibility to the board. This county commission said, we're not going to deal with this issue. We're going to let the library advisory board decide. And then you give it to the library advisory board. The library advisory board actually takes a position in support of the displays. And then you say, well, it wasn't their fault. It's not our fault. I'm sorry, but it is. And as Chairman Kitchen has stated, this is the policy-making board. My understanding from previous interpretation by the attorneys, it's actually the 5 county commissioners, not the library governing board. That's what she said, and you can check the tape, the video back in January, I believe it was, and she can confirm that. But let me just explain to you, tell you a couple of the people. One of the people that you've made a motion to keep on the board is Carol Spring. She's a longtime leftist activist who has worked on diversity, inclusion, and equity programs for radical organizations such as the National Conference for Community and Justice, where she served as executive director for the Broward County South Palm Beach region and led the NCCJ's Metrotown program, which is described as a social justice youth leadership camp that puts teens through various exercises such as privilege lines to make them feel either guilty or victimized based on their skin color. That's CRT. She's also served on the board of Project Equality, a Black Lives Matter supporting organization that condemns America and the police as racist. You just said you're for the police, and why would you renominate somebody like that? Maybe she wants to start with the BLM agenda in the libraries as well.
Mr. Chair.
But in addition to that,
Mr.
Chair. Hold on just, yes, sir.
Can we please just keep the comments relevant and not attacking anybody in the audience?
It's not the audience. It's one of the nominees. One of your nominees.
Hang on a second. Okay. I've heard this from both sides today, and if I stop one side, I got to stop the other. I heard about the fringe and the lunatics and all that. So just keep it calm, keep it to the motion. The motion is, should this board be reappointed? That's the motion. So you
can I have my time back, because I'm addressing
yes, you can.
one of the nominees.
You were interrupted. You get your time back. Give him another 15 seconds.
Commissioner, I wasn't attacking anybody in the audience. I'm talking about one of the nominees that was nominated and seconded by you. And so I think it's important to know who this person is before you decide to go ahead and put them on the board. She's had ties with the radical Islamist organization CARE. She nominated one of their executive director for Florida to Leadership Broward. This is an organization that has, blamed or tried to shield Islamic terrorists with phony Islamophobia
Mr. Chairman,
charges.
How do we have proof that this is? How could we just say whatever we want to say about people?
His time has expired? Yes. Okay, I'm sorry. Your time's expired.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, and we have to come back because I'm sure everybody knows about the information that was disseminated to all the commissioners about Mr. Labriola. And nobody said, do we have documentation? Do we know that's proof? Everybody kind of took that on faith. So what I'm saying is we shouldn't be here about name calling. Either you should say you agree with the commissioners on the motion or you don't, and why you do or why you don't. That's where I hope we are right now, okay? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, can I just say something, please? And respect to everybody, because, one of the, you had mentioned, and I appreciate that, about mutual respect, both for the folks sitting on the dais and the folks out in the audience. And I know, being a public figure, there are things that can be said about us that we don't like, but we really can't do anything about it because we're a public figure. Well, Ms. Spring is not a public figure. She's a volunteer of a library board. And I find it very unfortunate that somebody is allowed to come to the podium to say things about this individual without any proof or any knowledge of proof. And she's not a public figure, and I think she deserves some mutual respect from everybody here, and as well as all members of any voluntary group. I mean, the TDC or the library board or the Waterfronts Advisory, these are not political folks. These are not folks that run for public office. These are people that are taking time out of their day to volunteer to help better our community. And I just think we should all try to be more respectful of these individuals. And I just want to say that.
And again, and I agree with you, and I'll even say this, please don't attack the individual people being nominated. And the reason I say that is if these board members did their due diligence, they should know everything they think to know about the nominees, okay? So you shouldn't have to sit up here and tell the board members what they should know about a nominee that they voted for. If you wish to contact them later to do that, fine. But I think right now, the time is better spent if you can speak to, you know, why, if you support it, why, and if not, why, and try to just kind of leave the, because I was going to try to do the opposite. I was going to tell you why I supported the people I support, not why I don't support the people I don't. But anyway, so can we start the time now? Give the man his 3 minutes. Yes, sir. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you. My name's Gil Phelan from Lecanto again. I think it's pathetic. Again, it's really pathetic to watch a complete outpouring of what we want. This other lady the other week said that she had more names on a petition. Where? I didn't see the petition. We handed it to you. How can you keep ignoring what the people want? It's really a pathetic view of what our country has become. And making motions and you haven't read the books. Now, after 9 months, oh, now I'm going to read the books to find out what's in them. Maybe you should have done that before making decisions on certain motions, right? I don't know, it's just kind of common sense. And agitators, yeah. I guess back in 1776, it was kind of a good thing we had a few, right? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker to this issue, please, if there is any. Yes, somebody over there queued up? Yes, sir.
Dr. Bruce Bryn, Sugar Mill Woods. I've heard you all confess that you're conservatives. I don't believe it at all. You're not looking at the background of these people. True or not true, it's written down, they have a background, and they are not conservatives. They are not even hardly Americans. But what I want to say is, not against their politics, but now that you're assuming the policy for this advisory board, and we didn't know what the policy was of the previous board, which they are on, no one has talked, I didn't hear any investigative information about who in the world put these displays up. Who was responsible for these? Was it Eric Head, the director of the library, and his staff? If it wasn't these people, and if it wasn't you who are now taking charge of the policy, who is going to have the policy now? When we have displays coming up in the next few months, who do we come to now? Do we come to you, the BOCC, or do we go to the advisory board? What do we do? That's my question. Where's the information? Who put it up? Was it at all the libraries or just one?
Good question. Hopefully we'll get it answered for you. Is there another speaker? Again, this is on the nomination, the slate of nominees. So, yes, ma'am.
My name is, could we set the clock? It's only for 1 minute.
Yeah, I know. Just here.
Thank you. I may not use 3 minutes because I
that's okay. We want to
wasn't
make sure
prepared to speak.
I tell you, a lot of people, I can hear it already. People are going to be screaming, what a bad meeting this is. I'll tell you right now, I don't want a single person leaving this meeting today that was told to shut up. Okay? I want a single person leaving here to say they didn't get to say their piece. I might not agree with it. I might not think it's right, but what I think is not the issue. So as long as we try to be as nice as possible, I don't want a single person leaving here and saying, I didn't get to say, you cut me off, you didn't let me say what was on my mind. I don't think anybody can leave here today saying that, okay? So, yes, sir. Thank you.
Margaret Perry, Crystal River. I do appreciate your comments and your comments. I don't appreciate the motion that was made, not at all. I feel like it's a stacked deck. I particularly don't like the fact that my representative from Crystal River even made the motion. I know you have the right to be there, you're part of this board, but I don't appreciate it, okay? I like the way you, Mr. Kitchen, took the time to rank your top 10. We didn't hear why, but you ranked them. Who else ranked them? We didn't hear anything about that. Okay, you ranked them, thank you.
I ranked them.
Okay. I find the whole process incredibly flawed. It's like we were bounced from here back to the Library Advisory Board, and we can't do anything. We can't do anything. You know, the whole thing, and even this nomination process, to me, there should have been names put out there so the public could at least see, who are you folks leaning towards? And give us an opportunity to study them and then come back and say, gee whiz, why is this person being nominated? Or that person being nominated? We didn't even have that. We come here today, people speak their piece, and now here's the names, here's the motion, boom, we're going to vote on it. I find it incredibly flawed. I find the fact that right now, we still don't know. I have an idea who did the, well, it didn't go 3 minutes.
I think that's your warning now. I think we're on.
Okay. Anyway, for us to be debating back and forth, well, just who made that decision? Who, and then who recalled the decision? That is stupid. It's just plain, it's like a game of smoke and mirrors, and I don't like it. And I don't think other people here like it either. And we will remember, trust us, we will remember how the votes went. Thank you for allowing us to come back again and talk about the motion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker on the motion?
My name is Ron Kostreba, Inverness here. And I feel the same as the last two callers. Nothing's changed. We still don't know. Had a key, stuck in there at midnight, stuck the display and left. We still don't know who did it, who's going to do the next one. How come? This is supposed to be the final thing. We still haven't lined up. Mr. Carnahan and Mr. Kitchen, the only one that make any sense here. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Wish my wife felt that way. Yes, sir.
Yeah, my reason for being here today is a little bit because I am running for the congressional seat in our district here. I'm trying to find out a little bit more about the county. But I served 37 years as a pastor, and part of the decision-making process in that was you really had to listen. The concern I had was with the gentleman that did come up and shared that an individual had been involved with BLM, had been involved with CARE. Would it not be wisdom to table that name until you can actually do the research on that? Because if that is true, I've dealt with 4 county school boards. You do have people that are being snuck into positions. I'm not saying that's what the case is, but I'm saying it would be worthy of tabling that one name until you could check in and be more certain on it. I don't feel for you. I feel for you guys in your position. As a pastor, I have to get faced with things like that. I don't think people here are against you. My second oldest is gay. I love that boy with all my heart. He's got my exact name. He's my junior. The one gentleman said nobody gets groomed. I had a 41-year-old scoutmaster groom me when I was an 11-year-old boy, so it does happen. It doesn't happen all the time, but we can't rule out that it does. I just want you to be real wise in your decision, and I do respect every one of you for what you're trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have the next speaker on this motion.
Kathy Bryn, Sugar Mill Woods, Homosassa. I just want to know if you commissioners have really done the research on the background of these people that have been on the board and that you are reappointing to the board, even the ones whose terms have ended. I don't know if you're familiar with the Citrus Crusader, but it's been publicized. I have a copy. I will actually put it in the record if you would like. But here's a bio of all 5 of these people, and it's very concerning. And it all came because of public information that was out there. And I don't know if any of you have done the research. I don't know if any of you have really looked into the backgrounds. You know, we have the Sunshine Law. And in the Sunshine Law, you need to bring everything out in the open. And I would agree with the last speaker who just spoke and said, I think you need to research this a little bit more. I'm really concerned with the way this vote came down. Not one person, very well qualified, is being replaced with a new person. And I just think it's, I think you really need to think about it.
Is there another speaker on the motion?
Hi, April McLaughlin again. I like the motion that was made. I agree with it. I just want to clarify something. The names that were put out by Mr. Kitchen, I've been involved with the library for over 15 years, whether it's the Friends, the book sale, Library Advisory Board, literacy, reading to children, and I don't know any of those names. Maybe they're accomplished people. Maybe they have better college degrees than I do, but I don't think they've been to the fundraisers. They don't work at the book sale. They don't shelve the books. They don't do the volunteer work. So I think maybe something should be considered, that it should be the citizens of Citrus County that really have a passion for literacy. And also at our library advisory meetings, just to clear that up, we also took great pains to make sure that everybody could speak.
Just a clarification, you don't know Edith Ramblow?
I do know Edith.
Well, you just said, you don't know anybody on my list.
I'm sorry, I do know Edith Ramblow. I'm sorry, I forgot she was on your list.
So that statement you wish to correct?
I wish to correct that,
Okay.
yes. And Edith is on the motion.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker.
Deb Spence, Crystal River. I'd like to say that I agree with the board's decision to reappoint the 5 people. Again, they had nothing to do with this whole thing. The library display was before 5 of them were appointed. It has gone back and forth between this board and the Library Advisory Board as to who has responsibility. It has been decided that it is with this board, with the Board of County Commissioners. So people who say that it's still not clear, they're not hearing what's being said up here. That has already been resolved. It was resolved on January 4th when 3 of the 5 county commissioners voted to keep the displays as they are. That was not agreed to. If we put in new members at this point, then this is just going to carry on and carry on and carry on to the next meetings because we have new blood, new people to petition, to do something with. So I commend you for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead to the next speaker, please.
Are we having fun today?
Yes, sir.
Frank
You get paid big
Papson,
money for this.
Fernando. I've been listening very closely, and there's a few things that come to my mind. Number one, volunteers. As far as I know, and I've been around the country a little bit, activists are volunteers, you know, and there's activists for both sides, so I'm not saying either one. The majority of the people that came here today because they could get no satisfaction out of the display that they saw that they objected to. I've been hearing, it's not my fault, and then I just heard somebody said, well, 3 out of 5 people said, yes, you can leave the display up, even though the vast majority of people that opened their mouths and said anything said no. So it's kind of up in the air as to who you want to believe. I mean, people say we had nothing to do with it, and other people say, yeah, you did. Well, I didn't vote on it. Yes, you did. So, yeah, I mean, you have to decide who you're going to appoint. for this position. And it's up in the air. I don't know. I don't know who is responsible, but neither of you people seem to know the same question. You know, I mean, if you don't know, how can you make any decisions about anything? Isn't that the first thing you need to do, is find out who's responsible before you decide to keep or let go anybody? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other comments on this motion?
My name is Mark Conley. I don't want to sound like a sore rejected applicant, but the fact of the matter is, and I appreciate that everybody on the board thanked all of the applicants for their interest in the position, but I also think that the process, based on what the members of the board said, was sorely flawed. Almost everybody who supported Councilman Brown's motion basically took the position that, these people were on the board before, and we're going to just put them back on the board. And even though we've been told that it's not a lifetime position to be on the board, when your term is up, you should be pretty much elected. But I also think that this process, where basically nobody other than the people who were already on the board was given due consideration, I think that is going to discourage future interest in the board, and that is not a good thing for the library. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Can we have the next speaker, please, if there is one? Yes.
Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Rohini De Silva. I'm also an attorney. I must be honest with you. I feel we have been cheated. If you had decided already that you want to re-elect the existing board because you have to be fair by them, then why did we go through the whole process of signing up and appointing ourselves and all the rest of it and giving you our resumes? Number two, you have said repeatedly that you want us to speak, but when we speak, you ignore us totally. Today we spoke. At the library board, we spoke. No discussion on a word that we said, except somebody insulted us profusely by liking us to Georgia's Governor Forbes. We are not racist. I would like an apology for that. Even with my brown skin, I'm insulted. We are expressing that we are very concerned about our children. And the discussion about our children has been smoothly shifted to the feelings of the people who are already on the board. That's not the issue. The issue is you are promoting transgenderism. Those children are going to be harmed. They're going to be given puberty blockers. They're going to have their breasts cut off. They're going to have a piece of their thigh cut off to make a penis. They are going to have their testes cut off. And you are sitting and discussing the feelings of some people. Really, this is about our kids. I really wish you would please table the motion, have a discussion if you want to have it in private, and think, is this what we want in Citrus County? Thank you.
Thank you. And just for the record, we can't have a discussion in private, so just so you know. Can we have, is there another speaker? Anyone else wish to speak? And just in case you're interested, after this, there is another segment of public input on the agenda, so if anybody's interested.
Yeah, good afternoon, Pat
it's right
Abate.
there. Yes.
Just want to thank you all for your
Yes.
service. I want to sat and listen through your whole spiel today, and I just want to say I definitely disapprove with your decision. I think you hoodwinked your constituents. As far as Commissioner Brown saying that these are just volunteers that make decisions for our children every day and for the young people in our communities, you need to do your due diligence. I think there's two out of all of you up there that might have done your due diligence. I've been dealing with people who do due diligence all my life, I feel you hoodwinked the people. When you go looking for votes, I think you're going to pay a price. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, ladies and gentlemen, please, 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 okay? Okay, is there any other public input on this motion? Okay, so now we give the board one more go-around to respond to public input, and then we'll have a vote. Commissioner Carnahan.
Yeah, and I did want to say, I did go through and look at all 43 applicants, and I wrote down and I ranked them. And Commissioner Kitchen, one thing I could say is I had a lot of the names that you had, and we definitely would have changed the board. And I do feel that these 43 applicants took their time to fill out not only the application, but they give us their background and their resume. And I do feel that we should have done a better job of airing that out today, because just because some on the library board doesn't know those members that you, the names that you spoke, doesn't mean they wouldn't have done a hell of a job on this board. So with that, again, I will be voting no on the motion.
Okay. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Slaybach, any final comments?
No.
Commissioner Brown, anything?
Only to say that I, too, went through 39 applicants, and I actually have them numbered, just in case it didn't go my way on the motion. So I did take the time, and I want to thank everyone who's done it. I mean, they're 2-year terms, correct?
Yes.
So there'll be opportunities to join this board down the road, so this doesn't close the gate. So any of you all that filled out an application that wants to be part of the Library Advisory Board, stay tuned and keep your application on file, and there'll be other opportunities.
Commissioner Davis, anything else?
I ditto what Councilman Brown said.
Okay. Commissioner Eppin, nothing?
No, I'm good, thank you.
The two wise members down there on the end.
Said enough.
Said what you had to say. Okay, so we have a motion to reinstate the 5 people who's have applied for reappointment, and that was made by Councilmember Brown and second by Commissioner Davis. So on that, I don't think everybody's kind of spoken. I don't think we need to do a roll call. Let me know if you have any issues with that. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay?
Nay.
Do you have that recorded correctly?
You and Carnahan.
Thank you very much. Okay, in that case, the motion passes 5-2. Thank you very much. Here's what we're going to do. Oh, wait a minute.
No, I have something I need to say.
No, wait a minute.
Before you dismiss us.
Well, you're not dismissed, but we're not done with the meeting. Now, if you're following the agenda, we go to public input. So this is for the library board. We haven't even gotten back yet to the county commission meeting. So if you have a problem with that, you should read the agenda so you know what's coming up. So now, is there any additional public input about anything that we haven't talked about library-wise that you think we should? Okay? And please, I'll give everybody the time they need to talk. Let's just not rehash what we've already talked about. If you have something new to add, this will be the time to do it. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, if you're leaving, please do it quietly, okay? Please do it quietly. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to address one thing I didn't have a chance to address previously in my remarks. And I believe what happened here is an act of really rank discrimination, because we know that in the past, the people that have appointed all library advisory board members in the past have just been the 5 commissioners. And, you know, I'm not blaming any particular person up there for this process changing, but I believe that the motivation was to keep the library advisory board the same if it was an administrative, you know, thing or whatever. But the whole process seemed to change the moment people started complaining. And I think the county is really opening itself up, unfortunately, to a discrimination lawsuit because of the fact that, you know, there's been one process that's been followed for years and years and years in terms of how library advisory board members have been appointed, always been the 5 commissioners. And all of a sudden we say, oh no, for this particular one, now that people are actually interested and there's more than one person applying for one position or more than 4 people applying for 4 positions, now we got to bring in the other 2 council members and you know, make sure that we stack the deck in the favor of, you know, keeping the people that are there. So I'm just telling you that I believe that this is, you know, that the county is opening itself up to a discrimination charge. And in terms of violating the law, you know, the governor has made a law statewide saying that these kind of grooming displays are illegal now in the schools, and it mentions third parties. So again, the attorney can have, you know, quite a challenge on her hand in terms of if these displays come up again. And it was also mentioned that, you know, putting it in an adult section, the libraries don't have an adults-only section. The entire library, and I've said this before, is supposed to be a family-friendly space, okay? If you're a middle schooler and you're doing a research paper or book report, you use that entire library. You don't just go to the Dr. Seuss section. So there's no little, shouldn't be any little peep, corner, in the back, like for a little peep show for somebody that wants to see these displays. I think that in some sense that would be even worse than having it in the front, because then you have a little peep, show in the back, where all kinds of things could happen. So these displays need to stay out of the libraries, and since you reappointed the same people to the Library Advisory Board, I would just say it's back, before the County Commission, which is where it should have been handled in the first place. And these 1,200 people, are not going away, and we know where to, these people are going to be back, and they're going to be back when it comes time to voting, because we're awake now, we're alert, and for some of these council members, those elections are decided by far less than 1,000 people.
Your time's expired.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else to speak? Open to the public, anything other than what we've already talked about?
Hi,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
Gil Phelan, agitator from Lecanto. You got to laugh, right? You got to laugh sometimes. I'm just curious. To me, there's two subjects here, and they're completely different. We're all here worried about the displays that we think should be disappeared. Meanwhile, we're talking about a board that says they have no say in those displays. That's two different subjects. So I'm perfectly willing to let the board go, because if they're not making the decision about that, what difference does it make, right? You guys are making the decision. My question as a citizen, because we sit here, we pour out our hearts. Trust me, I don't want to be here, even though it looks like I'm having fun. I don't want to be here, but I would really like to know the answer to the question, because we talk and talk and talk, and people ignore you, they write notes, they're scribbling, they don't pay attention to what you're saying, right? I would like an answer. If the law says third parties can't do this sort of stuff, has anybody here been paying attention to that? What's the answer to that question? Can I get one today? Can I have the esteemed lawyers chime in? So leave the board alone. What about the displays? Why should we have to come back again? I'm willing today, can't you vote on it? So you know what? The law speaks very loudly now, despite the fact that everybody here is speaking loudly, and you have an overwhelming majority despite what other people say. Can't we get an answer today? The law is the law. How long do we have to wait? How many meetings do we have to come to? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there, shh, please. Any other comments? Yes.
Deb Spence, Crystal River, I don't even remember where I am anymore. It's gone back and forth. On January 4th, the 5-member board voted. So as one speaker right before me said, it needs to go to the board. That board voted. Then it said it needs to come to the library board. The library resource board has voted. It has been democratic. You have listened to both sides of it. And they don't like what the results were. And it's going to continue and continue and continue until this board decides that public comment on the library is no longer appropriate or necessary. And I don't know how that's going to happen, but that's going to be the end result of this. I hear that there's legal action that might be tried. This has nothing to do with library displays. We don't have a library display there now. Eric Head has said that there probably will not be a library display in June. So what is it we're arguing about anymore? It makes no sense. But yet we hear this argument constantly. This is the final vote. This is the final part of this. There should be no more discussion on library displays or library advisory board or anything else to come before the BOCC before next election. Election comes up in the end of the year. We get to vote new county commissioners in. That's where the vote has to take place. But it should not be discussed here any longer. You guys have voted. You have voted well. You have voted conscientiously. Multiple times. The Library Advisory Board voted. There's no other outlet for this. So to think that this is going to continue, what I would ask for the Board of County Commissioners to look at is how do we move forward from this? How do we come to a reckoning of people who are so diabolically opposed and who verbally attack and accost each other over these views. It's starting to ruin, it's coming out into the neighborhoods. It's no longer about library displays, it's all about homophobia. And this Board of County Commissioners has started this, and they need to end it.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, Lori Pettingill from Homosassa. I'm very happy that Scott Carnahan made the comment he made. I thank you, Ron Kitchen, and I thank you also for making comments. At the library board meeting, when there were a lot of people that came and spoke, they asked for a vote at the end, and everybody in that vote said, no comment, no comment, no comment, no comment, no comment. When there's no comments, no response from a board, then the board becomes invalid. And I'm sorry, but I thought that we needed to get people on that board that made comments, that responded to the public. Whether the public liked it or not, they responded. And that's all I have to say. One other thing, I thought it was awful that a businessman in our community would come up and say that he was going to give you envelopes of instigators of trouble. And that should never have been said. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak at this time?
Good afternoon, Kevin Ballard from here in Inverness, Florida. I just thank you for your service, and I ask now that you have continued the Library Advisory Board that they would look for a way to limit accessibility to all types of material that deals with human sexuality. Not just heterosexual or homosexual, but these are minors, and I think that we have a responsibility to limit that. When it includes gender identity, it includes sexual attraction, it includes definition of marriage, definition of what marriage is and what a family looks like. I think we do our county a service if they would advise you on how we can partner together to allow these decisions to be made by men and women, not boys and girls. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any additional comments? Yes, ma'am.
If I think, pick me up. My name is Lala Sanders from Inverness, Florida. I got out of my house to come here. I got out of my chair to come here. And today's word is influential. Did the display, and did anybody influence the people to do the display? I'm just wondering. My mom was a young widow. She raised 8 children. She displayed respect, independence, and a right to choose. I wrote all these notes while I was sitting back there. I learned how to change oil in a car because those that influenced me, because those people I hung around with. I learned how to clean fish so that I could eat them. Displayed like how to be a mechanic, plumbers, electricians, bakers, etc. should be what should be in our libraries. Things that we need to move forward with. I mean, it's very, very important that those things are displayed. These are learned by influence that you see and whom you are around. Who we are around influence us. What we see influence us. God did not compromise by pleasing sin, and neither should you. Your decisions affect your next term. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're glad you got out of your house and out of your chair to come and spend time with us today. So thank you, absolutely. That's why we take the time to listen to you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the library board at this time? Okay, I'm going to close the public comment and once again give the commissioners one final go around to respond to any public comment they heard. If they wish, I'll start on this end first. Any further?
Well, I'll give props to Mr. Gill, the, what did you say, the agitator from Lecanto. He was right. We're talking about 2 different issues here, and I completely understand the frustration. What we heard a lot of today was library displays, when what we were doing today was nominating folks to the Library Advisory Board. Now, the other issue is displays in the library. I said earlier that Mr. Conley brought up he made the comment that we have no coherent policy on displays. He's right. There needs to be one. Now, does that come out of staff? Does that come out of, open discussion on the board? Where does that need to come from? But there needs to be a policy, whatever the policy is. Some are going to like it, some are going to hate it, but there needs to be a coherent policy. So I understand the frustration. The 5 seats that were expired, we've addressed that. There are 4 more seats, I believe, in January that expire, and we've got a list of resumes. I would assume that they want to be in consideration for those seats at that time, but we do need to figure out what that policy is going to be, and have discussion and vote on putting that policy in place. We've had to address a number of library policies. But anyway, that's all I've got to say about it.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Hefner, anything else?
He makes sense.
He does. He does. And today's not the first time that he's made sense. He makes sense a lot of the time. So. Commissioner Davis, any final comments?
We do absolutely. We do need to, I think you made several good points today, Commissioner Kennard, and I think you said that Mr. Labriola brought up a weakness in our system that we needed to fix. And you're right. And my understanding is library staff will be addressing a policy display, but that's why there's a cooling off period. So it would certainly, I'm sure, come before us for a vote at some point, but let them do their job.
Okay, Councilmember Brown.
Yes, thank you. Exactly what Commissioner Kennard said. We were here really to discuss and one thing, which was to appoint or reappoint the library board. But we heard a lot of different views, and I agree with Chairman Kitchen is that that's what we're here for. We may agree with what you have to say, and sometimes we may disagree what you have to say, but we can agree to disagree. And I'm big on the mutual respect, and I want to apologize to the gentleman in the blue there if you felt I didn't catch your name, sir. But you said I was making a face when you were talking, and if I was, I apologize. But understand, you all make faces out there too that we see. So, it was a long process, and I know every member of this governing board did spend time going over these applications, and there were some fantastic applicants. And I wish we could increase the board by 10. Everybody's talking about, we want diversity on the board, but I'll be honest with you folks, all I heard about diversity was right, conservative, religious, and that's not diversity. I mean, diversity is having a bunch of everyone, but that being said, to one of the current library board members, that plays no role on who becomes a member of the library advisory board. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, it doesn't matter if you're Republican, it doesn't matter if you're independent, or like myself, I'm a non-party affiliate. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish, it doesn't matter if you're Christian, it doesn't matter if you're Muslim. Their sole purpose is for the betterment of our library system and to advise. Again, we keep on forgetting, this is an advisory board. This board makes zero policy. All they do is advise to the director, who happens to be Eric Head, and I think Eric Head then now advises this board. And that's how the system works. And you know what? You guys are citizens. You can go to the library advisory board and advise to them. So it all works. And I just want to say that this was quite an experience, so thank you. And I'm going to pass it on to the commissioner to my right.
Commissioner Slabar, do you have any comments?
Yes. I'm not going to, say that what Commissioner Kennard suggested was a good idea, but it was a good idea, and that's one thing that I wanted to be here for, to talk about after the nomination and appointment was done. We've spent 3 hours going over who is going to be sitting on this lab board, And then I think the next step is, what is the policy for displays? And again, my personal beliefs on what I would like to see and not see on displays as a parent, as a commissioner, as a person, that is going to be what comes before us to vote on, and we need to figure out, okay, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And there's a lot of things that I think aren't acceptable. And sitting up here, it's very, it's a difficult position to separate yourself, your personal and your commission, and like different hats you're wearing. But I think that we do need I think it needs to come before this board of what we want for displays. And I encourage that. And I did rank. I spent 2 weeks on these, investigating people, looking at different things. I was not about to tell you who my 45th and 44th person was. I don't think that if they took the time to apply, that they needed to be, I picked you 45th because, you're just not, you're not worthy. So I wasn't about to do that. So I'm glad we didn't have to.
Mr. Chair, can I make one quick comment?
Well, let me,
Okay.
let me let Commissioner Carnahan go, and then if you
Well,
want to
I
wrap
keep
up.
hearing about policy, but this board, the BOCC took a vote, and it was a 3-2 vote on to let the display stand. So they took a policy stance, okay? Now, do we have something in stone? No, we don't. But the board voted 3-2 to keep the displays up, so they took a policy stance. So, we could talk about policy all day long, but we did take a vote on policy, and the policy was to leave the displays up in the library.
I'd like to say something.
Just a second. Are you finished, Commissioner Carnahan?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, Commissioner Kennard.
Item E9 on today's agenda. If you don't mind me reading this. This is for everybody. Listen up. The Library Services Division is currently reviewing and updating all library policies. Staff will complete this process by May 31st of '22. The county attorney will review all policies and recommendations in time for the Library Advisory Board to review at their June 28th, '22 meeting. All policies will come back before the Board of County Commissioners for consideration and endorsement at the July 26th, '22 regular meeting. So that's how it's going to work as far as addressing the meetings. I assume you're waiting for me to mention that.
Okay.
I was hoping someone would.
So we've already announced when the next meeting of this board will be. So we've done that, Madam Clerk, right? So we got that. Now, you had some other point. Yes, Commissioner Slade.
You're absolutely right. It was a 3-2 vote, and the reason is because there were some flaws pointed out, and I couldn't get a definite answer. So now that happened, so let's correct now that we know. Just because that passed then doesn't mean we have to live by that rule. We can correct it and move forward. And I think all of us are on the same page. Let's go and correct the issues that need to be corrected. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll just wrap it up by saying this. To me, the argument wasn't about good, bad, indifferent, or whatever. As far as I'm concerned, when the Library Advisory Board had a room full of people in there, citizens of Citrus County in front of them saying you have a problem that we want to address, and that wasn't brought to our attention, that was the breakdown. Okay? So that's my concern. Whether that went to there's nothing worse than sitting up here and having the room full of citizens come to you and say, we went to your advisory board, but they refused to advise you. So that's why we're here. And then we send them back. Well, we don't make the policy, go back to the advisory board. So if we go back and play back the previous meetings, it's real easy to see why people got infuriated with the system. So hopefully we've corrected that. Commissioner Carnahan is correct. I mean, we made the motion to fix this, and it died. So somebody earlier asked, what do we do to bring it back? Well, the people on the losing side can't bring it back. So that's done. But somebody also said, don't let people talk about it. That's scary talk, okay? As far as I'm the chairman, people can get up here as long as they're nice and talk about anything. They can get up here and read the Declaration of Independence for their 3 minutes if they want. That's their right. Okay, and I'm not going to say you can't talk about this. I see you, Mr. Oliver. I'll be right there. And you can't talk about this because we don't want to hear about it anymore. It's our job to listen. And if you don't think we heard you, And as long as you want to come back, you can do that. I'll tell you one real quick story. When I was in Crystal River, there was a gentleman that came before the city council for 10 years, and all he did is he got up every meeting very nicely and said, when am I getting my sidewalk? And he'd sit down. And next meeting, when am I getting my sidewalk? For 10 years. And when he died, the sidewalk we put in, we named after him. So just to let you know that sometimes things don't happen overnight, but it comes down to be nice, be courteous, everybody talks together, things eventually will get done. Mr. Oliver.
Yes, I just want to point out Commissioner Kennard read it correctly. I just want to make sure everybody understands that all policies will come back before the Board of County Commissioners for consideration and endorsement at the July 26, 2022 regular meeting.
Okay, so now, just so we don't get more confusion, is that the final word, or will that decision have to come back before this board?
The final decision rests with the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay,
As
so everybody's
Mr.
clear on
Labriola
that?
keeps saying, I said previously, I'm saying the same thing again.
Okay, so we had this discussion to set what we're going to do, and then the final policy will be made by the BOCC.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. When will this board meet again? This 7-member board, does anybody know?
Probably budget time,
Okay,
and then
there you
if,
go. Yep, just want you guys to know.
if there's an appointment that needs to be made to the Library Advisory Board due to resignation, death, whatever reason.
Okay, so we've talked this to death. Let me give you a quick update real quick. We're going to be here for a long time, so if you want to talk, you can hang around for a bit.
Well, I have something concerning the library board, though.
But I just went down the list and asked anybody if they had any final
You
comments.
asked anybody comments about what you were discussing?
No, well, let me get to this, then we'll talk. We're at a 2:15 time certain at 4:24, okay, ladies and gentlemen? So this board will continue all night if we have to get through the rest of this agenda, okay? So if you're here for the 2:15 time certain or the 4 o'clock, we're going to take those in order, then we're going to go back to the regular agenda, picking up with item E, which is bids. So just want to let everybody know, and also, when this board adjourns, I'm going to take a 10-minute recess so everybody can get up and stretch their legs before we go into Marathon 2. Councilmember Brown.
Thank you. And we talked a lot about policy, and this is one policy that really we need.
Talk in the microphone.
Yeah. This is one policy we should probably discuss before the budget. And this has no reflection on our current chair, because I think you run a hell of a good meeting.
I love it, with all due respect.
But, the way it's set up right now is that the chairman of the BOCC automatically becomes the chairman of the library governing board. But there's 2 city representatives here. So I guess my question to our attorney, or possibly to our county administrator, is that written in the bylaws where it's only county folks that could ever chair this meeting, or is there a possibility down the road when Chairman Kitchen's term expires that the city folks are also eligible to become chair? And I don't know if we need an answer this very second, but it's something that needs to be discussed prior to next year, when Chairman Kitchen's term.
And the reason she's waiting is she's waiting for it to be recognized. Madam Attorney, can you answer that question?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't recognize you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This board has no bylaws, so there is no procedure, there's no process. So if this board wants to create a set of bylaws, we can do that for the board. But currently, there is nothing in writing, and it's part of the what Mr. Oliver and I uncovered about this board since becoming employees here, is that this board really didn't get much attention, and through Mr. Labriola bringing the issues to the forefront and what the process we've gone through, we've realized that this board needs some attention, and if y'all want some bylaws, we can have bylaws, and that'll set who the chairman is and so forth.
And the reason I didn't bring that up is because I had that information, because when we do budgets in the past, the question was raised at that time, do we need to elect a chairman? And the answer was no, there's no bylaws, we keep the same group, and we keep the same chairman, and we move through. So if you want to change the bylaws, that's this board's prerogative to do that. I know in the past it had been done with the Port Authority. I know they changed who the chairman was during the Port Authority discussion after the election or whatever. So there you go. Anything else? Anything else from any of the board members? Okay, it is now 4:27, so I'm going to say at 4:40, which will give us 13 minutes, we're going to reconvene the regular BOCC meeting, and this meeting is adjourned.
Bless you.